disappointed in every one of you.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend you.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I kiss you on the mouth.
No, I'm not cool with that. I'm sorry.
One more time.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I mean, I'm dealing with degenerate animals.
I'm disappointed in every one of you. Disappointed in every one of you.
All right, come on.
Honestly, I can't do it, man.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
Let me tell you why.
It's gonna be all right, Nicky. Go ahead, shoot.
You just killed a fucking man.
What are you going to do about it?
You're happy because you got nothing. You don't got a thing. You're happy because you got nothing. You got nothing.
I want to get out. I want to get out of this rat hole. I want to get online. I need
BDA boxing.
Well. Welcome everybody to another boxing podcast, broadcasting to you live from the True North. It's your good friend, Mr. BDA, and I sure am glad that everybody could be on board for this one, fellas. In this episode, we've got a fantastic one for you as we preview some of the fights that are going to be taking place this week, but we're also going to be covering some of the rumors going around about boxing. It's an anything goes type of podcast here in terms of subject matter, but we do have a lot to cover, so we're going to get right down to it as soon as possible. But we will be opening the phone as always near the end of the hour, so you guys can call in and give us your feedback or your opinions on what's going on in boxing right now. Before we get down to the fun, let's get the business out of the way. You guys know the drill. If you want to donate a couple of shekels our way, you're certainly welcome to do so with the Super Chat feature, although it's better if you join the membership program. That way you get more bang for your buck. But the most important thing is you continue to like, subscribe, spread that BDA gospel, all right? There's a lot of uninitiated out there that need to be corrected, all right? Don't forget you can also check us out on Spotify, iTunes, and Spreaker at your leisure. All right, let's give a big shout out to the disciples out there, the apostles, the people that make the world go round and round. We're talking about Mark T, Mars in the house as well, Larry Liston, Fluffy Toasters 89, Flex Luther, CBR 100, Real Talk Boxing, Evan Deere, Devon Williams, Larry Liston. Who else is here? The Quags. Shout out to the Quags. Good to see him on board. The Gucci Berserk, Eparokua, Evola M. Tafishun. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Dennis from Boston in the house as well. Jacques Cousteau, Mr. Dodo's 117, Team Batman Boxing, Warp Speed in the house. Shout out to Warp Speed as well. Mad Dog H. Many more people to come, I'm sure, fellas. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. All right. Before we start the whole festivities here, I want to comment a little bit because I didn't have a lot of things to say, or I didn't have a lot of time to say what I wanted to on Sunday's show. I had to run. But I will say this about the Charlo Canelo thing. Just a couple of last comments, because I'm seeing a lot of people on Twitter. I went on Twitter this morning, and the amount of people calling Jermell Charlo a bitch, made me start thinking, okay, I'm pretty staunch, a staunch observer or a supporter of people being able to criticize boxers for their performances. Because, some people say, oh, you can't criticize boxers, they're the ones that are taking the shots. But my contention has always been, especially at the high level, like for the fight we saw this Saturday, we're paying money for this. And it ain't cheap either. So we also have a say in what type of performance we want to see. And Charlo, some people are calling him a bitch. So that's where I draw the line, because I think that's where people are being a little bit going too far. Because look, he certainly wasn't a bitch by unifying the 154-pound division. He showed balls in those performances. I mean, obviously you can argue, and I certainly argue that he was not a top 5 pound-for-pound guy. Yes, he unified that division, but it's like the same thing with Josh Taylor. And I think Jimmy brought up the point succinctly once when he said, actually it was before the Lopez fight during fight week. He said Josh Taylor is good. You got to give him props for what he did. But when has he ever dominated somebody? And I said, you know what? God damn it, that's a great way of putting it. And you could say the same thing about Charlo. He unified the division, but there's a difference between unifying a division and how you go about it. See, those are the key points that you have to pay attention to when you're discussing top 5 pound for pound. Because now you're dealing with the cream of the crop. And you have to compare him to other pound for pounders. So did Jermell Charlo compare or live up to or rival those other pound for pound guys? No. Now, there's no shame in what he accomplished. I mean, being top 10 pound for pound, that's pretty fucking good. I mean, how many guys would like to be in the top 10 pound for pound list, let alone stay there for a couple of years? So Charlo wasn't a bitch. And you'll hear many people say this. They'll say, like with first responders, for example, or firefighters, police officers, or somebody that saves somebody from, somebody falls in the tracks and the person risks their lives to risks her life to get him out. People say, wow, that's a hero. Yes, but put that person in the same situation 5 times. Will he or she react the same way? So in other words, what I'm saying is it's also momentary. It's a momentary thing to a certain extent. You can't always be a hero. You can't always be a coward. So it's a universal term that people are using, or they're using a term for Charles if he's always a bitch. He wasn't. Now, that being said, he didn't escape from criticism here. Because I certainly criticized him the little time I had to speak on Sunday. I said, look, the guy's getting paid. Let's see how much he got paid. Hold on a second. He got paid. Rumor is Charlo is predicted to earn between $15 to $30 million. Wow! So that's the Canelo payday right there. You get between $15 and $30 million. So my thing is this: look, you're fighting in the biggest stage of your life. He's never gonna get another chance like this. Tank Davis is not that big a star compared to Joshua and Canelo, and he's not even close to Charles' weight division. So that's never going to happen. And obviously a Joshua fight is never going to happen again, and it's highly doubtful that Charlo ever gets a second shot at Canelo. So this was the fight of his life. This was his chance to make his legacy via defeat or via victory. And he lost, obviously, but it's how he lost that really lets us know what he was about. He could have done more. So when people get upset, because some people did get upset on Saturday when we were doing the post-fight calling show. And by the way, during the post-fight calling shows, I can go back and forth with callers, no matter how ridiculous some of what they might say is. And I'm not saying that what this caller said was ridiculous, but I'm just saying sometimes that's why you won't hear me going back and forth, because this is the caller's time. This is their time to express themselves, and we do have a lot of phone calls, so I just don't have the time nor the wherewithal to be going back and forth with them. But, a couple of callers, they say, these callers that are being too harsh on Canelo, they're out of their minds. They're not the ones taking blows, blah, blah, blah. And I say, I get that, man. I get that. Look, when you taste power sometimes, whether you want to or not, it's your body that decides things. And some of these guys, they go into flight mode. That's what their body tells them. But again, I argue that when you're in the biggest stage of your life, of your career, and you're getting paid between $15 to $30 million, and people are paying 100. I had to pay 120 clams, by the way, for this pay-per-view. 120 clams. That's gangster and boxing talk for $100. So, I'm not paying for a product. I'm paying for a result. Because this is what the market is saying. The people who decide which fight is pay-per-view and which isn't are saying, oh, this fight is worth pay-per-view. You got to pay to watch it. Okay, so I paid to watch it. And one guy said he was okay with just surviving. So now people say again, okay, that's one argument. Now there's another argument to be made about why did Charlo admit that? Oh, I didn't get knocked out though. I didn't get knocked out. Okay, well now you're double shitting the bed, because now that's a slap to the face of boxing fans. They're going to say, well, why should I pay for this guy again? Why should I pay to watch him again? In fact, some people are saying Crawford's better than Canelo, right? Some people are saying that Crawford's better than Canelo and that the only advantage Canelo has over him is size. So then that begs the question. If Charlo fights Crawford next year after a tune-up or a comeback victory, why would we pay to watch Charlo against a guy who's better than Canelo? We already saw how he acted against Canelo. Why would we pay to watch him against a guy that supposedly, according to some people, is better than Canelo? What do you think is going to happen? Obviously, we can't predict with 100% certainty. We don't have crystal balls. But shouldn't the fact that he struggled against a guy that's supposedly one-dimensional, overrated, shouldn't that let you know that maybe he'll perform the same way or worse against a guy who's better in Crawford? Makes you wonder. Makes you wonder. That's all I wanted to say about that. Let me invite a couple of people here. Start cooking with a little... turn the stove on, as it were. What else was I going to say? Yes, don't forget, we're going to be opening up the phone lines near the end of the hour. We got a lot to talk to, fellas. We got some fights to preview this Saturday. We've got rumors about Teofimo Lopez versus Tank Davis. We have... What else we have? Well, we have some Crawford news. More Crawford. He seems to be, ever since he beat Errol Spence, and rightly so, he has been making the news rounds, which is smart. I think that whoever's in charge of his PR is probably responsible for this. Just keep his name out there. Keep his name out there and see what happens. The other thing is, we got to talk about that. Chris Eubank. Well, we're going to get to that. Chris Eubank. Some of the stuff he had to say. I think you guys already probably saw it. I don't know if you guys talked about it on Sunday. Again, I didn't have a chance to listen to all of it, but we shall see. All right. Let me read a couple of chats here. Comments from the chat. Team Batman Boxing says, Canelo, 64 fights, never hit the canvas, and has beat more champions than anyone else. Inactive boxing, crazy numbers, and too many records and stats to mention. Yeah, listen, his resume is now you can decide or argue whether he's top 30 of all time or whatever, but he's an all-time great. By the way, what I just opened is not a beer. It's a, what do you call it? Sparkling water. There you go. And it's a particularly good one, let me tell you. We got Gonzalo dropping by. Gonzalo, you here? Or can you hear me, rather?
Hey, how's it going, Mr. BDA?
Good, Gonzalo, good. Hope you're feeling well. Look, I don't know if you heard what I was talking about earlier, but people are calling Charlo a bitch. What do you think? Is that going too far? Is that right on the money? Or what do you think? How would you deconstruct those comments?
As far as the fight, he did bitch out a little bit, but he was the smaller man for the first time going up in weight against a Canelo that had already been there a few times. But he still went the distance, and I know this is like, it's you don't get a trophy just for making it the distance instead of going in there to win, like how they say, going out on your shield, selling the defeat like expensive. Or if I'm gonna lose, I'm gonna really like go in there and try to put a hurting on you. And if that means I'm gonna get knocked out, well, so be it. But once he understood that his power wasn't there for that, what else could he do? Because we know that Canelo had an iron chin. And this is why I was particularly like, this was what I was impressed with Canelo. Because Canelo, to me, looked good because he kept pressing Charlo and he looked like he had good conditioning today. So you could say that Charlo, he's a tough dude. But Canelo was still walking him down. And I don't care if it was Charlo. It could have been Bivol. It could have been Bivol on Saturday, and he would still would have done the same. As opposed to like their first fight, he would have still continued to come forward because Canelo on that night, like he said, was looking different. And I know it's easier to look like that against a 54-pounder, but I just thought something about his energy told me that he was kind of unstoppable. So that's why I don't think he necessarily bitched out like that. And one more thing, like personality-wise, I was surprised at the way he carried himself. He's not looking like the Charlo that talks a lot of shit like before. I don't know. Maybe he got a good family now. His wife treats him well. He's actually talking well about they ask him about his brother. He brings him up, but he doesn't like disparage. He supports him, but at the same time, he's kind of angry. But he knows how to express himself without that chip on the shoulder that used to characterize him as a piece of shit.
Oh,
right.
Wait a minute.
Well, he's not that guy. He's not that guy.
Well, I mean, look, I'll say this. There's not much else to say. I mean, I predicted Canelo would win. Most people did. So it's, like you said, there is some positive there for Canelo. The fact that even when Charlo did let his hands go on the rare occasions, Canelo just deflected everything. So he did what he was supposed to a certain extent. But I'll say this, man. You just reminded me of something here. Yes, Charlo laid an egg, because again, the amount of money he was being paid, at some point you go, okay, so you won't even take a risk for 15 million, or they're saying, Gonzalo, they're saying that his purse will be between 15 and 30 million. That's the estimate. So for that type of money, you gotta put it on the line. People have done it for much less. So that's one thing. Number two, the PBC did him no favors the way they set this fight up. I mean, I've heard some people say, well, it's not Charlo's fault that he was coming off from 1 year and 18-month layoff or something because he hurt his hand. But let's not forget, man, after he beat Brian Castaño in May 2022, a couple of months later, it came out that he was going to face Tszyu in early 2023. So I think those announcements were made in August or September. So they had him out for about an extra 4 months or 3-4 months. So why wouldn't they get him another fight in 2022? So whether it would have or wouldn't have taken place, whether the injury wouldn't have taken place, he was still being inactive. So, and that's the problem with being inactive. When these guys think they have all the time in the world and then they get an injury and then that layoff elongates or expands because of the injury. Now they've got an 18-month layoff. So the PBC did him no favors. Also, one of the things we talked about before the fight was that he never really faced a puncher. I mean, Rosario was a big something of a puncher, and that's about it. Harrison ain't a puncher. Lubin ain't a puncher. Castaño ain't a puncher, although he's a very ferocious character or boxer. But I mean, that's what it is. What it is, man. They didn't prepare him for it. So that's another person to blame for this type of fight, because that's what we've been talking about. Inactivity hurts the quality of the fights. So get these people more active. That's what I got to say. The other thing that we got to talk about here is, before we get down to some of the fights that are going to be taking place this Saturday, Eubank was unimpressed. Chris Eubank Jr. This is what he had to say. He said, Canelo needs to fight someone who's going to get in there and put it on his ass. Someone who actually wants to win, not just survive, secure a payday, and give him a sweet little hug after. This is getting embarrassing. I don't want a hug. I want that scalp. Okay, so Chris Eubank Jr. apparently has some Native American in him. But here's the thing. And this is why people dislike Chris Eubank Jr. Because he does all this talking. And then when he fights Liam Williams Jr., he runs and clinches. And let me tell you, the way, what's his name? Liam Smith had him knocked out in the first fight, I shudder at the thought of him getting in there against Canelo. And let's not also forget that Chris Eubank Sr., I believe, I think that's the rumor, pulled Chris Eubank Jr. out of the fight with Golovkin. So evidently people around him didn't have confidence about 7 years ago for him facing that type of puncher. And I got to tell you, again, the way Liam Smith, who's not even that big a puncher, had him reeling and out and about. What do you guys think? We got Jimmy here dropping by too. What do you guys think? Is Chris Eubank Jr. Biting off more than he can chew?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're right about his father. He did pull him out of the Triple G fight because he didn't want to, you would, and think about that. Probably would have been buried two kids. I know he lost his other son. No, Triple G would have destroyed him.
Jimmy,
I'm just
man,
being
come on,
honest.
man.
It is what it is, man. He was looking out for his kid, man. It's ridiculous. Remember what Canelo did to Liam Smith? Had him on the canvas with his legs back, looked like he was giving birth. His fucking insides were so ruptured. You know what I mean? Went through him like a hot knife through butter. Imagine, you know what I mean? And that's the same dude who stopped Chris Eubanks. Yeah. Chris Eubanks is an all-time great choreographed mitt dancer. That's who he is. And he needs to stop. Get Canelo's name out of your mouth, dude. Seriously. I don't know what. Who else is on with us?
Gonzalo.
Yo,
yeah,
Gonzalo.
Jimmy.
Hey,
how's it going, brother?
Hey, good. Give up your a point.
He's also 33 years of age, and that's old. Considering that Canelo's 33, but look at Chris Eubanks' resume in comparison. It pales in comparison. Understanding, okay, that nobody active fighter have the type of resume than Canelo does. He's been willing to fight people. All the while, like you said, and BDA also mentioned, this guy's a choreographed mid dancer, and his dad saved his life, and he pulled the plug when they were mentioning Triple G's name, just like Billy Joe Saunders when he lost his pin, when the WBC literally said, Munguia, you cannot fight Triple G when he was 24-0 with 23 knockouts for a reason. Because Canelo was, because Triple G was that guy, and Canelo fought him 3 times. And when Canelo had those close fights and he got the victory in the second and the third, and he got the draw in the first, man, he became that much better. And I think you mentioned something along those lines before, right? So when you go in the distance and you really prove yourself, your game raises to like new levels. And that's what happened to Canelo, right? And Eubank hasn't gone down that path at all.
Absolutely.
BDA, can
Yes.
I ask, did you guys happen to catch Charlo's post sparring session presser?
Yes.
Did you hear some of the stuff that, I mean, is it me? I mean, could you not read a room any worse than him? Like, even the fucking reporters were like trying to tiptoe around it. Like, what do you mean by selling out? Like, really? You didn't understand what that question was? Come on. They're asking him, like, how come you try to make it a fight? All that shit talking for years, going back to 2016, he was the one of the two who always said he would beat Canelo. And to put in that kind of effort and go up there saying, I'm already a legend, I belong in the Hall of Fame. Wow.
Well, I got
What a disconnect, man.
Yeah, I mean, Charlo does. I mean, look, if we're talking about today's Hall of Fame, the standards of today, yeah, he gets in. I mean, Ignemar Johansson is in there for Pete's sakes. Yeah.
Yeah, we need to maybe like just close the wing down and just say, listen, from now on, just because that's absurd. You look at what he did. He fought a nobody, has been and never was in Castano. I mean, one was for a vacant title too. You know, I mean, a vacant. He fought that John Jackson, the Banana, lost to Tony Harrison, and went 1-1 with Castano. And he's lost almost as many rounds as he wins. In fact, Steve Kim was on this channel not even a year ago. Remember, he was breaking it down. He was talking with Stephen Breadman Edwards, discussing the fact, would you have, they asked you kind of, mulling over things, would you have Charlo in your top 10? They both came to the exact same conclusion. No, guy loses way too many rounds. He's been bailed out more times than not by his power. So you take that and you add that into what I think is a average. Just if you take the trinkets away, just look at who he's fought. So, okay, yeah, he's undisputed. 4-belt era. Does that an automatic vote in? If that's now the criteria, sure, I'll go along with it. But his body of work to get up and talk like that, and never mind excuse the way that you just charged everybody $85 and you showed up and you didn't even attempt to fucking make it a fight, is just shameless.
Yeah, that's what gets
That's all I
me
wanted
about
to
it.
say.
That's what gets me about Jimmy, because I've said it before on this platform. I am not paying for a product. I am paying for a result, especially when it's, look, I read it here earlier. He's rumored to have earned between 15 to 30 million for this fight, Charlo. 15 million to 30. You're telling me you can't, because this is look, nobody's forcing him to fight. Boxing is a risk. Anytime you get in that ring, you could die. Absolutely. So it is something that these people should be commended for to a certain extent. But just because you get through those ropes doesn't make you a badass. Now it's about how you perform. And for 15 to 30 million, I would hope that you would try your best to give it your. I don't care if you win or lose, as long as you try your best. But evidently, he felt that going the distance was all he could do.
Yeah, and he was happy with it, very proud of himself, as he said. But I just want to say, there's no way he could have pulled down 30. I'm sure that was all very heavily laid upon how many pay-per-views sold, and the fact that the reported number now is 600,000. Nah, no way, because you got to remember, they got to pay Canelo. He's getting probably 40. That's a guaranteed. right?
Louise.
So if you break that down with the 600,000 pay-per-views, just the money isn't there. Maybe with the gate, I don't know, but I highly doubt it.
Hey, fellas, don't forget to hit the like. Really helps us out. Subscribe if you've yet to do so already. And we will be opening up the phone lines near the end of the hour. A shout out to High and Low Sports Centrum for his contribution to Super Chat. He says, BDA, a home of boxing. Well, shout out to you, High and Low. Always appreciate your support. And I hope you guys are enjoying the show. All right, now, guys, I want to get into a fight that's going to be taking place, allegedly. Supposedly, it's already done. November the 20-something, 25th, I believe. And this is David Benavidez versus Demetrius Andrade. Call me crazy, guys. But this is my first instinct, and I am no longer fighting my first instincts, thanks to Gonzalo. My instinct is that Benavidez could cause a lot of problems. Andrade could cause a lot of problems to Benavidez. Now, I'll say this right off the bat. If Andrade's stamina, if I were assured, or if I had assurances that Andrade's stamina was right there, he could go and perform for all 12 rounds, I would pick him over Benavidez. Yes, I would. But he doesn't have that type of gas tank. All right? Now, for Andrade fans, there's also a little hope for them, and that is that Benavidez is looking like he's about to burst at the seams trying to make 168. Remember how emaciated he looked at the Caleb Plant Wayne. So I want to show you guys a video that just recently came out on social media. This is Benavidez training. Excuse me, hold on. This is the David Benavidez doing a little shadow boxing. He looks like Zach De La Roca, but he also looks very doughy in the core. What do you guys make of this? Is it the t-shirt that's making him look a little out of shape? Is that just how he always looks when he enters camp? Or what do you guys make of this?
I mean, he was a 250-pound kid when he was like 11 years old. And the last fight, he looked in real good shape. He looked like a freaking kangaroo, right? But he's not really gonna get it. He was never really gonna get away from that body style, because like I said, when he was 9, 10, 11 years old, he was already prone to being a fat kid. So once the fight happened and you relax a little bit, your body's gonna revert. Body's gonna revert a little bit, and then you got that extra loose skin. So I mean, yeah, he's cutting down again. It is the t-shirt. But you could tell by looking at his frame, he looks like a monster with that hair bouncing up and down. He is really the Cookie Monster.
He looks like Sideshow Bob.
That's funny. But yeah, no, he's got loose skin. Like if he was in a bodybuilding world, he'd have to have guys have had it, they get it cut away. Basically a body lift, because that's all it is. It's loose skin, and it's hard for someone who's been heavy like that to ever look totally ripped. But I agree, he did look like the best shape I've ever seen him. But at his last outing, but he's been fighting 168 for a long time. You would think it would start to really show, especially as he gets older, his muscles become more dense. But this fight, I mean, I kind of consider Andrade is just, he's Caleb Plant, but a southpaw, right? And I think that's what's going to obviously help him. It makes him harder than Plant, because he raised a southpaw. If I can't remember, haven't seen him fighting so goddamn long. But he's southpaw. You talking about Andrade?
Yeah, he's a southpaw.
Yeah, southpaw. So yeah, he's a southpaw. He's got length. Pretty much, like I said, the same thing with Plant. Although I think he could punch a little harder than Plant. In fact, I would definitely bet he could punch harder than Plant. So not that I'm saying he's going to stop or hurt Benavidez, but I don't think that'd be his game plan. Just sting him enough to keep him at bay. But I agree. He has the skills, without a doubt, what he can do and do well. If he was in tip-top fucking 12-round burning lung condition, absolutely. He could. He just has to avoid Benavidez's onslaughts. Fight like Charlo did. But the difference is you got to engage more. But just avoid any kind of punishment.
Well, let me break down. I can't do it with the time allotted here. But the reason why I would give I would be very I'm not 100% certain, but I think, and by the way, I'm not saying Andrade would school Benavidez if he could go all 12 rounds, but because Benavidez, if you look at Killer Plant, he fights in that Philly shell defense, whereas Andrade, who is a southpaw, as Jimmy mentioned, he changes levels a lot more. He gets low, and that's interesting because Benavidez fights tall. His legs are very straight. He fights in a mummy type of style, and he doesn't really jab his way in. He just barges forward. Now, what I like about Benavidez against Andrade is he has a short little, a long right hand, a quick one, and it acts like a jab. So that's something that could work against a southpaw. But Andrade has this innate ability to shuffle and to change levels and then shuffle at the same time, kind of like Pernell Whitaker or Tevin Farmer, a more recent example. So I think that could give Benavidez a lot of problems because Benavidez would have to be punching lower than what he's accustomed to. Now, Benavidez does have underrated defense. He's got a good guard, and if you watch most of his fights, very little gets through, and he's able to counter real quickly. But again, the only reason why I'm not gonna pick Andrade in this one is that stamina. It's been proven against guys who are lesser fighters than Benavidez. He just goes to shit. Sorry for the foul language, but that's his stamina gets drained rather quickly. So. That's Benavidez' style. He's banking on you getting tired with his pressure. So what do you think is going to happen when Andrade gets in there with him? Now, Andrade is working with Snack. So again, this is Snack, Victor Conti versus Memo Heredia, who's with Benavidez. Just like this is the same war that we had between Caleb Plant and Benavidez. Caleb Plant was with Snack as well. So maybe Andrade this time, whatever they give him over a Snack is enough for him to go 12 rounds.
Yeah, that's the problem because for me, thinking objectively, look, when he tries to take a step back to stay away from Benavidez, mind you, against other opponents, the stamina and the gas tank goes to shit after 6 or 7 rounds. But against Benavidez, it's going to be particularly hard because when he takes that step back, Benavidez can cover a lot of ground with them legs. He's going to be barging forward, taking 2 long steps and covering half the ring. But Andrade, if I have to be objective once again and give him credit, thinking how can he win? Like for the first 3 rounds, like you mentioned, he looks dazzling. If he could fight the whole fight like he looks like the first 3, he looks elite. Like where he's throwing quick, long combos, and he's catching you with one shot in between the 3 punch that you didn't see, and that dude hits the canvas. And you're thinking, did I miss that punch? I didn't think he was a puncher, but why is he dropping dudes like that? Because he's kind of looking amazing, dazzling, and you have to be like, okay, that makes you raise an eyebrow. That guy's good. But after 4 or 5 rounds, the glimpses of that style they're few and far lesser between. That you're thinking, okay, well, the first rounds he was like that, but since I didn't see more, is he really that guy? But okay, one more thing that he brings to the table, and I'm not saying that because of that, it's going to be a competitive fight. Like I said, I'm thinking he's going to lose. Being objective once again, Andrade is not a small dude. When he went up to 60 from 54, it was more befitting. It was more his weight class. And at 68, I think he's still a strong guy because he's long, tall, and lanky. That it would actually suit him better and probably even more than Benavidez, because Benavidez is gonna have to cut down, and his stamina is gonna suffer in the last quarter from round 9 to 12.
But that's what I'm thinking. And also,
one more thing, but that still leaves the middle rounds when Benavidez pushes strong. Can what's his name?
Andrade.
Dimitri Andrade. Can he battle him back? Can he battle him back for the real estate in the ring between the middle rounds? That's why I don't think he will. Or can.
Well, but that's the thing, though. Andrade, the difference between Plant and Andrade is Andrade can actually turn a guy. He can stand in front of them and turn them, which could potentially work against Benavidez because, like I said, he's so straight up. Whereas Caleb Plant, he does what you said, Gonzalo. That was a thing that gave Benavidez some confidence because he would go straight back. So Benavidez just goes, okay, I'll follow you. Then yes, finally when Plant hit the ropes, he would turn him. But Andrade doesn't necessarily have to hit the ropes to keep you turning. He can do it in the middle of the ring. I think that's a different style from Caleb Plant, or a distinct difference that I think could give Benavidez a lot of trouble. But ultimately, if Andrade was chugging and huffing and puffing against Jack Colkay and against Liam Williams, imagine what Benavidez is going to do to him. So that's why I'm not going with Andrade. But Andrade has a lot of good skills, man. He's got dazzling hand speed. He does hit harder than most people give him credit for. But eventually, I think that he's just going to slow down. But in other words, to give a recent example, Julian Williams versus Jarrett Hurd. I remember before the fight, I said, man, I would actually pick Williams if his goddamn chin could stand up to the firepower. But it's not, because he's got a shitty chin. And lo and behold, for that one time he really needed it, it stood up. And he beat Jarrett Hurd. Probably ended his career, some would argue. So, I don't know. Maybe Andrade pulls off a miracle. We got Uncle Pete also jumping in here. Pete, how you doing, man?
Andrade. Never say never.
Is that what he said?
No, say never. He's going to get his ass beat.
Nah, come on. yeah. I thought you were referencing The Sopranos, man, when he goes, the guy, what's his name? Beansy?
Excuse me, amigo. Excuse me, amigo.
Yeah. But speaking of long layoffs, when's the last time Andrade fought?
He fought recently. Not recently. He did fight this year against Demond Nicholson, which didn't really inspire much confidence in me. But when was that? Was it January? I think that was on I think Tank Davis versus Hector Garcia undercard.
He's at the end of the tracks. He's going to get his shit beat out of him. His gimmicky style, all that boloing with both hands, all that stupid ass awkward footwork, that herky jerky shit. He's going to get walked down and demolished.
Now, let me ask you this then. That brings up a good point here. First of all, okay, one last thing before we get into the spicy stuff. The one thing I also dislike about Andrade is when he fought Zulensky, he made him look stupid the first 6 rounds. I mean, he was, again, like Gonzalo said, dazzling. And then out of nowhere, from one round to the next, the guy just loses steam talking about Andrade. And he just spent the rest of the fight shuffling, playing defense, and winging a wild left hand that was going nowhere. So I said, what the heck is this? So even when he's dominating, all of a sudden, it's a tale of two Andrades. It's the first 6 rounds, he looks fantastic, and then afterwards, wow. Listen, I'm gonna before we continue with this, I'm gonna show you some examples. I actually did a video on Andrade. Just goes to show you how much of a boxing hipster I am. I'm making videos about Andrade.
You did?
But this was, yeah. Wow. This was a year ago. Let's see if I can. Let's see if I have the clips that I'm talking about here. All right, I give him credit. He beat Akabov better than Billy Joe Saunders did. Although the stoppage was bullshit. See that? What the fuck? Oh, that was Arthur McKenty Jr. Another big fuck up from a guy that. Look at that. see, I actually included a compilation of Arthur McKenty. That's why he got hit. Hold on, we gotta watch this, man. This is when Badu Jack socked him in the face. Look, why is he getting so? Look at this. This is between William Jopp and Felix Trinidad. Look at his legs, man. He really wants to get in there.
He's asking to get knocked out. No, he wants to get in the middle.
Look, he wants to blow Trinidad, man. What the fuck?
He wants to commit suicide by right hook.
Exactly, man. Look at this. All right, so now this is the clips that I was talking about, hopefully. I know, I'm saying it's Akabov. Get to the fucking Zulensky fight, BDA. What the fuck? But, okay, here it is. So, see, he actually started out like a power puncher against Zulensky. Dropped him early. All right, forget about it. I don't even know if I showed the clips that I'm talking about. Oh, no, yes, I do. Yes, I do. Look at that. He was aggressive early. And then that fucking left hand, it's probably he kept throwing it because he dropped him with it. But then afterwards, it's just, look at him winging wild. And then this is what happened. He was just playing defense. Look at that. Round 7. Hey, let me play defense.
I think maybe it's one of those things that when he's fresh and he's winning the first 3 rounds plus the knockout, he thinks he got that lead. To where when he's getting tired, he's kind of selling out in the kind of the same regard when we're talking about Charlo. that he would just want to, but here he want to maintain the lead. Right now, all I have to do is survive. And since I got the knockdown and won the first 3 rounds, I'm not gonna like really try to discover how well of a boxer I can be to really define my style of my style of fighting. Right, or you know, because when he starts getting a little tired, the punches are less straighter. They're more wild because he's a long and lanky dude. So once them feet start like sprawling a little wider apart, and then he starts dropping at the waist a little bit forward above his lead foot, and kind of like the pressure's getting put against you, and he starts panicking. You can see it in his eyes. He cannot fucking retain his character as a fighter, and he starts getting a little desperate to where he starts losing shape big time. And that's what I'm saying. Yeah, when your legs are getting a little bit wider and it's a little bit harder for you to maintain your posture, Benavidez is most likely going to walk you down because he got the long legs.
But that's the thing, though. That's what we keep saying on this channel. Being a power puncher takes skill because it's easy to look good the first 6 rounds and throw with a lot of power. Can you maintain that? Can you pace yourself? That's a level of skill right there. This guy, after 6 rounds, he runs out of steam and he just starts winging left hands.
He's got no power.
He's got some power. He's got some power early.
I can't remember who it was, Mexican guy, but he caught this guy cold on the chin, cold round number 1 when he was fighting on DAZN. Caught him, flush, and the guy got up like he tripped. and here's the other thing: he's left-handed, so when he comes into a fight against an orthodox fighter or against most fighters, even other left-handers, that in and of itself is off-putting to another fighter. Just the fact of having a southpaw in front of you is just not something you're used to. Plus the fact that he's overly awkward, like the way he is. He's just a spoiler, and he fucks around, and he doesn't get tired. But by the 6th round, it does take a toll on him. All that erratic movement. Number 1, and number 2, the opponent gets a beat on him, and when the opponent gets a beat on him and realizes he ain't got enough pop to keep him off of you, and he's just all this herky-jerky shit is nonsense, then they just start going after him. That's he's just a spoiler.
Just to compare and contrast with certain performances. Andrade, this is against Liam Williams. He dropped Williams once. I think he stunned him, and then he got stunned himself and spent a lot of the fight clinching. Chris Eubank Jr., the guy that's a part-time fighter, looked better against Williams than Andrade did. So what does that tell people about what? Now, that's the only reason why, like I said, some people might be wondering, well, BDA, then why did you say you would pick Andrade against Benavidez if Andrade could maintain his stamina? Because the first 6 rounds, that's where he looks good. But I know for a fact he's going to lose steam in the last 6 rounds. So, yeah, that's the thing, though. That's where, like what Pete says, that's where he becomes a spoiler. Because then his whole game is just, let me maintain this lead by playing defense and clinching and shaking my ass. That shit might not work. Highly likely it will work, will fail against Benavidez. Now, the other problem is Benavidez, he's a fucking, look at him. Let me play the video again. He's looking like a fat sack de la Roca. You think that's gonna down the stretch too? Maybe when he needs that stamina down the stretch to put it on Andrade, he won't have it because he's going into fat camp. Look at this. What is that? Or maybe you know what it is because he's wearing. You know what it is? He's wearing that elastic getup. See what he's got there on his chest. So he's got the elastic bands on his feet and on his hands. Maybe that's what's pulling his shirt and accentuating the fat rolls. I don't know. We need a fat person to answer that question. Somebody that's used to wearing, black and stripes and shit like that, little tricks to look leaner. We need that type of expert on. Somebody, if we get...
He doesn't look 160 right now or 170. He at least looks still like 200 pounds.
Jeez Louise. By the way, Lord Executioner
190. Because he's a tall man. How tall is he? Like 6'3"?
Yeah, something. Well, they say it's 6'2", but he looks taller. Or maybe he looks taller because he fights straight up. Lord High Executioner says that's a sports bra. I mean, come on. that's not a sports bra, man. Come on, man. He's wearing a what do they call in Seinfeld? A bro? No, what do they call it?
What is it?
Anyway, forget what they call it. The man bra or something?
A garter?
Man's ear.
The man's ear, thank you. The man's ear. That's what it is. He's wearing a fucking man's ear.
I was thinking about the ones that the chicks wear in the 1920 westerns. What are those called?
Yeah, you said it. I got her. Yeah.
I think so.
Well, now listen, I gotta ask you. Let's get into that real spicy stuff, like the technique and all that. I'm wondering this. I know a lot of Canelo haters are rooting for Benavidez if he were to fight Canelo because they want to see Canelo lose. So that's the guy they're banking on. But it's like the same thing where that happened between Teofimo Lopez and Lomachenko. These guys loaded Lomachenko, and we know why. And so when he fought Lopez, they were, hey, Lopez. But then as soon as Lopez won that fight, Lopez is avoiding Haney. He don't want that smoke, blah, blah, blah. And it's the same thing here. So I'm pretty sure in their heart of... Well, actually, I want to ask you the guys a question. As the fight nears, just like with Charlo Canelo, where when the fight was announced, they go, oh, Charlo's too small. But then as it got near, you start seeing some of them saying, yeah, Charlo's going to pull it off. He's a better fighter. Do you think we're going to be seeing that come as we near the fight in November, that more people are going to start jumping on the Andrade bandwagon? Just because he's the guy that, that looks like them.
Andre, I don't think so. Unless people believe that his skills are like underrated and that he's still got, like a trick up his sleeve, because there's something there that you could say if he can look amazing like he does in the first 1 or 2, 3 rounds, man, like, yeah, he's got talent. He's a skillful guy. But at the same time, he would have to rise to the occasion where people are still holding on to that. And this is crunch time. You haven't proved it, and the time is passing, and people are still holding on to that illusion. And I'm not sure if it's ever gonna happen. But for sure, he gotta show that now. And if he does it, that's a wrap, man. I think it's a little too late in the game, in my opinion, because Benavidez is right at aside from the fact that he got to cut all that weight down, he's right in his prime right now. That's why he still thinks now I can still fight at 68 to where I'm writing a check that his ass can still catch.
That's
because
right.
It's like when you're young and you go party, you can recover quicker. When you're old and you have to recover, you can't do it the same. Benavidez is still at that threshold where he can kind of recover from cutting the weight and putting the weight back on the next morning. That the motherfucker's a monster. He's a monster right now. Benavidez.
That's what somebody posted a clip of Jose Benavidez Sr. Doing an interview. And by the way, his Wi-Fi seemed worse than ours, so we couldn't understand what he was saying because he was cutting off so badly. But he said something along the lines of that, like, well, no, David is still young, he can cut the weight, So that's what evidently that's how they feel. They're confident that he can still boil himself down to 168 and beat all these guys. But Jimmy, my question was, I don't know if you're still there, Jimmy. Jimmy.
Yes.
See, I knew you were, fighting your dogs or something. As the fight gets near, Benavidez versus Andrade. Jim, I hear some background noise.
Yes.
As the fight.
Oh, that's just people over there.
Jimmy's having a party.
As the fight
nears, Benavidez versus Andrade. Do you think a lot of these LDBC people are gonna start jumping ship and going, "Hey, Andrade's gonna win it. Andrade's gonna win"? Because right now they're picking Benavidez just because he's got the best shot at beating Canelo. But do you think they're gonna start jumping ship as the fight nears and start going with Andrade?
No, I don't believe so, because they never really embraced Andrade. Because remember, he was never under the PBC thing. He started out with Rock Nation, so he was always kind of just on the outskirts. And plus, remember, they're going to ride and die with Benavidez because that's the guy. Because remember, if he fights Canelo and beats Canelo, I told you, I've been riding with this boy all this time, bop, bop, bop. That's what it'll be. Well, the haters will come out with that type of shit. So, I mean, tacitly, would they? Maybe. If Andrade wins, they'll fucking pump out videos saying how they knew it. They just didn't want to come up with all the excuses why they didn't put all the videos. But, yeah, we've seen it all the time. But, no, I believe they're going to stick with Benavidez, because in their mind, that's really the last probably person they believe who could take out the dreaded Canelo.
Yeah, that's the thing, though. It's I've heard people say, "Hey, what's his name? Andrade. Canelo didn't want to fight him." That's the old myth and legend they concocted, that Canelo never wanted to fight him. He ran from 160 so that to avoid Andrade. So Andrade. Yeah, I mean Andrade. Yeah. So evidently they feel that he's good enough to beat Canelo, but deep down, I think they already know he's not that good, and certainly not good enough to beat Benavidez. So That's what I was thinking. But I'm telling you, man, as we grow near, and people are in the chat are saying, of course, BD, you're naive if you think they won't. You're gonna start seeing some of these guys start feeling the hype, and they're gonna go, you know what? I think Andrade can pull this off. And that's when it's gonna get interesting. Because I think their behavior, their pre-programming is gonna kick in as the fight goes near. And he says, I gotta root for the brother. And I think that's what some of them are gonna do. But hey, I'm telling you
That's
right
the way
off
I
the
feel.
bat. Oh, come on. But I'm telling you right off the bat. I think Andrade, if he's
I would never
guessing,
be
hold on,
accused
he
of
has
being
good
one
chance.
of them, if you know what I'm saying. But the thing about it is, I definitely, it's definitely a more legitimate matchup than Charlo and Benavidez. I mean, it's not a guy from 2 weight classes down. At least he's in the weight class. I don't think much of him as a fighter. I think it's just going to be a 168-pound version of what Charlo was doing. I just don't think he's going to want to get in there and trade with. I think Benavidez got too much power. He's too much of a, power puncher. Too stiff a jab. He's a southpaw, which makes it a little bit interesting. That gives him a little bit of time. Might buy him some rounds or whatever. But man, let's be real. That's
So just early on, you guys are saying it's going to be execution time for Andrade.
I think so, and I really hope so. I mean, the whole weight thing with Benavidez, I think that's what Canelo's waiting for, to be honest with you. I'm not saying he's avoiding him, but let's just say he's in no rush to get in there. That's just what he's waiting for him to outgrow the weight. That's the only thing that could be.
That's the only thing. That's the only thing. Yes.
So
I believe so too, Peter.
So before we move on from this subject, then I'm curious. Then, who do you think gives Benavidez a tougher fight, Andrade or Morel, the guy that some feel is the real boogeyman of the division?
Well, when that dude
I'd
first
say
jumped
Morel.
on the scene, yeah, go ahead, Jimmy.
Oh no,
Go
I'd
ahead.
just make it. No, dude, no biggie. We both kind of started at the same exact time, but I would say Morel, just because of the power, the size, and you know what I mean. It's so few. It's more that lack of confidence I have in Andrade is I have confidence in Morel, to be honest with you. But I've seen Andrade just duck way too many fights, run his mouth, and just duck his way into try to get to a big payday. I mean, really, who's he ever fought? Like literally nobody. His entire career, and he's at the tail end of it. That doesn't happen by accident. So,
well, I mean,
anyways.
the argument is that he was avoided, and that's why he never got a big fight, because people just didn't want that smoke. They just didn't want that smoke, baby.
No, well, it's too. I mean, he just recently, Zach Parker and it was somebody else. Just his two guys he openly ducked just recently, and then when he was at HBO, they cut him loose because of two reasons: his performance. Yeah, they gave him a 3-fight deal. They only got 2 out of him, and then they cut him loose because A, his performance, and B, he kept turning down everybody they offered.
Wow.
Kept saying no. So yeah, dude, that's just carefully crafted. I think he knew he's a little bit chinny. I don't care what anybody says, man. He was more than a flash knockdown with Mata Rose and put him right on his ass.
Oh yeah.
And my thing
And
is,
Liam
you know what I
Williams.
mean? So
Yeah,
Williams
That's why
hurt him
he
too.
seems a little wide-eyed. He seems a little wide-eyed because he want to protect that early lead that he gets against a lot of these fighters. That he don't want to risk it when he thinks he can protect the early lead, and then he looks like shit. But it's about keeping that own. And when he don't got the lead like that, hey, it means that he's kind of unsure of his boxing ability when it comes to inside of the ring in an actual fight. I don't know how he's doing the sparring or what leads him to believe that he's a 12-round fighter like that. But that's the thing. He want to conserve those early leads because he gets a knockdown or two sometimes. I was going to say, with Morel, when he first burst onto the scene, I was very I was kind of impressed because I paid attention to how the fans were following him, the crowd, and they were chanting his name, and you had the Cubans also there, and you have a sense of this is a special guy, when you see the atmosphere, And the fact that the Kazakhstani dude, he put him in I think a coma, or he hurt him real bad. I mean, nobody wants to talk about when a fighter gets hurt or gets killed. That very rarely do people mention that those type of fights and that performance, because it's kind of sounds like a little bit like inhumane. But he still did that to somebody, and that means he got power. And he knocked out that one dude that beat Canelo in the amateurs, which doesn't mean a lot. But like in one round, and it's like they fast tracked them within the first 3 fights. So obviously somebody is promoting this dude, and I seen just a little enough that I think he's the goods. But stepping up to the higher echelon, the top of the food chains, to the Canelos of the world, I don't know how he will pan out there. But he's certainly a good fighter with power.
Now, that dude that beat Canelo, you're talking about the Mexican dude. He's the one that's complaining about the rabbit punches, right? That's something that a lot of people have brought up on the Discord, that Morel hits a lot. He's pretty open with the rabbit shots. He's pretty generous with them. He loves to punch people behind the head. But I'll say this, man. Morel does appear to be the new Cuban school. You guys remember the Cuban school from 10 years? People were like, Cuban school. Because think about it. We had Lara, we had Rigondeaux, we had Gamboa, we had Luis Ortiz. Those guys were really making big things or strides in professional boxing. But all of those guys were counterpunchers. Well, maybe with the exception of Gamboa. He was a fairly entertaining guy. All the other guys were more or less boring. Now we're starting to get guys like Ugas, Morel, Andy Cruz, Robesi Ramirez. They don't really fight like the usual, back foot bitch style. They're really trying to bring some action to the game. So what do you guys think about that Cuban School 2.0?
Didn't Morel just get off of the banana boat?
No, he's been.
No, you know what I can imagine Morel in his pre-fight inspection with the athletic commission. The doctor puts his hand in her chin and goes, "Where'd you get that scarf from, lover boy, you pussy?"
Well, didn't you meet him at he was washing dishes in a like a cart there, or a restaurant? What do you call it? Those street carts with the food and everything. There's some guy. There's 2 guys waiting for you in the back. Okay. Hey, you come back, and we got a lot of work to do.
You're a big man, huh? You make some big bucks. You want to fight Benavidez? No, let's cut it out.
You think we couldn't get into the space cadet?
The thing is about Morel. The thing is about Morel is that he's still young enough to where, like, I'll say this: he definitely would have stood and banged with Canelo. He wouldn't have done that shit that Charlo did. That's no doubt about that. He does got the power and the balls to do that, but he's young enough to where he's still streaky, if you know what I'm saying. Streaky, like, it's on, it's off. Like, he looked like shit in his last fight, in my opinion. So to throw him in there too deep too soon would be like probably a disservice to him, to be honest.
Wait, listen, you're in the minority because a lot of his fans, they feel like, hey, throw him in there against Benavidez, put him in there against everybody. He beats everybody. That's how some people are talking about it.
That fight was actually signed.
Yeah, it depends on his mental. I don't know how mentally sound he is, so that's really what would determine it. I mean, if he's mentally sound enough to take just to get in over his head with an experienced guy like Benavidez or Canelo and take a loss and still bounce back, then that's fine. I mean, obviously, like Charlo's attitude after the fight, he didn't give 2 shits that he just got washed. He didn't give a shit. So it's like, but if he takes a bad loss and he'll crumble from it, that's what you don't want to do. That's what his managers don't want to do. Forget him. He thinks he can beat the world. That's the way you got to think. But
it's the way I think. That's why I get into fights with people all the time, man. Street fights.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now I'll say this, man.
Go, Jimmy.
Oh, Jimmy was gonna go.
Excuse me, BDA. Finish what you're saying.
What do you mean, Bucho? It's bad enough people think we're the same person. It's bad enough people
first
think
all
the
the
same
callers.
person.
First all the callers, and now Jimmy. Come on.
Yeah, now Jimmy. Now, what's going on here?
Well, I just know I've never seen both of you in the same room at the same time. So,
well, I never will get near him. He stinks. He's got bad BO, man. No, but listen, I'm kidding. Now I'll say this, man. Yeah, so we'll see what happens. Benavidez, Andrade, that's a fight I'm looking forward to. We got a jam-packed schedule, man. Jam-packed schedule. We got what's his name? Haney versus Prograis near the end of November. I think early December. November, that's when the fights drop off a little bit. But man, this week we got Joe Smith versus Zurdo at cruiserweight. We've got Lee Wood versus Warrington. And then after that, we got, I think it's Janibek versus Falcao. I mean, there's some good fight. Oh, fucking Bam versus Edwards. Maybe Ioka versus El Gallito. I mean, come on, man. This schedule is... Fury Usyk, if everything goes according to plan, come on. You nobody can tell me boxing is not doing well. Is it doing as well as it could? No. But gosh darn it, this year has been fantastic. Fantastic. I got to tell you what, though.
We'll take it.
We shall take it indeed. I don't like some of the stuff I'm hearing, though, because Crawford has done a good job of staying in the limelight after his demolition job that he did on, what's his name, Spence. But I got to tell you, some people are giving him a little flack for some of his recent comments. This is what he had to say about Crawford-Ennis. He said, Jimmy, please mute your mic, man. I hear a background noise there. That little soiree you got going. All right, so here's what Crawford said. He says, me fighting Boots would be like, okay, well, you beat Boots. It's not a mega fight. I'm looking for big challenges. You know, I'm trying to go up in weight and fight Charlo because that's something that's history in the making. There's a lot at stake. There's really nothing at stake with fighting Boots. I'm at the tail end of my career. I'm trying to make things make sense. That's the thing that Irish Andrew Ward says. They always use that term now. We'll go back to talking to my team, see what makes sense. What do you mean, see what makes sense? You want to fight or not? And then he says, where I'm at in my career right now, I don't fought my ass off to get to where I am. And I deserve to do whatever the fuck I want to do. And I don't care what nobody say, how anybody feel or any of that. Well, you got to remember, this is the same guy that said that he felt he was Hall of Fame material before he even beat Spence. So I don't like I don't put too much stock in what fighters say. I put stock into what they do. But guys, what do you make of these recent comments from Terence Crawford?
What did he say again, BDA? Did you post it? No, because I'm watching on my screen. You put a note there, a notation. I didn't read it.
Long story short, I read it. I read the comment. He said, I'm not going to reread all of it, but he says he doesn't want to fight Ennis because he feels like he gets nothing out of it.
Oh, that's right. Yes, sorry. No, I'm at this stage, I mean, because you made a name for yourself, you could fight Ennis and defend your 47 titles, and I don't think too many people, aside from Canelo, are defending these unified titles because you have to pay the sanctioning fees. So it's better to relinquish the belts because we know that Crawford's not like a big money maker. So if he's defending all them titles against like Ennis and the fight doesn't sell a lot, you got to pay like a 3% here, a 3% there, and maybe sometimes even a 10 with the WBC, right? 10%. That's why Cotto, he dropped the belt back way back when in the day.
Right.
So I don't know if that's the reason, but now that you made a name for yourself, you want to go for the biggest piece of the pie that you can get. And that's what Crawford's doing, and I don't blame him for that.
That's a good point because he does raise an interesting point. He says, what do I get out of fighting Ennis? And, Ennis seems like a fantastic fighter, terrific, a lot of potential. But what has he really done to make you think that he could beat Crawford?
Yeah, I don't really dog Crawford for saying what he said, to be honest with you. I was up in the department downstairs. It was my wife and her cackling hen girlfriends just can't shut the fuck up for 2 seconds. But my God, so. But anyways, yeah, no, I would. I would definitely.
Jimmy's like LaMotta. Shut up!
Coffee.
Give me some coffee.
And the neighbors, hey, what's wrong, you animals?
But because what he means by that, he doesn't get anything out of it. Meaning, instead of coming out and saying, I don't really move the needle all that much myself. Fighting this dude, I'm really not going to move the needle. I don't think it's going to sell that well. And definitely, but he's in a kind of conundrum there because Spence isn't going to sell well either. That's the reason why he's doing the 147 thing. Make no mistake about it. The reason why he's kind of going back on this thing where, I'll fight at 154 now, make it 147, because he doesn't want to fight him. He doesn't want that fight to even happen. He's trying to get Spence to say, you know what, fuck you. I'm not taking it at 147. Fuck off. I think that's the reason why he's doing it, because he knows they're going to have a hell of a time trying to sell that. And so now this also, Is it true that the Andrade fight is this going to be an undercard?
First of all, it's Andrade.
I heard
he doesn't like being called Andrade.
What's that?
He doesn't like being called Andrade. He feels he's American. Andrade.
What does he like being called?
Well, anyway, the point is, Andrade.
Yeah, I think it's got Panamanian roots, Jimmy.
That's right.
Oh, really?
For all intents and purposes, he's Panamanian.
Isn't he from the Azores?
Well, he's from near your neck of the woods. I think he's from near your neck of the woods, right? Where, Maine or
yeah, he's from Providence, and that where he's from. There's a lot of guys from that Portugal island off the coast of Africa, the Azores. There, I can't remember the name of what the people go by, but yeah, Boston's inundated with them. But yeah, and so
anyway, but
Rhode Island. And I believe that's his heritage. But anyway,
but we Crawford. The thing is, look, I don't put too much stock into what fighters say. I put stock in what they do. Because again, it's the same thing like when the Canelo said he was going to fight Mike. No, he didn't even say it. That was Reynoso said it, and everyone lost their shit. Oh, he's going to fight a cruiserweight? What the fuck? And then he never ended up doing that. So I don't put too much stock into what fighters say. I put stock in what they do. But you got to admit, it's never a good thing to hear a fighter say, I do what the fuck I want. Because that's what he was saying before he even fought Spence. He was already talking about how he didn't need Spence. He was already a Hall of Famer. It's like, I don't like that attitude. Again, it doesn't mean that's how he acts. But it's what he said, and I got to keep an eye on that.
I think that was in rebuttal of what Spence was saying. Spence was saying the same thing. I don't need to fight Crawford. My career is complete. Really? And so I think that was his way or maybe even putting pressure on the fight to happen, because he must have known they needed to. But I guess it's all for naught. Real quick, just going to dump this in. It looks like, Showtime's not going to be carrying
we'll get to we'll get to that, Jimmy. We'll get to it. Let's not jump from...
okay, we're going to get to that after.
Yeah, right after this. But I just wanted to... One last thing about that, the Crawford thing. His sidekick, Shakur Stevenson, because that's what he looks like, man. He looks like... Remember that cartoon there in Looney Tunes where you got the big dog, the bulldog, and you get the little dog running around him, always egging him on to get into fights and,
Ralph,
babies.
What do you think, Ralph?
Yeah, that dude. Yeah, that's what Shakur Stevenson is giving the vibes of. Like, he's just always around Crawford, always talking about Crawford. The guy seems to be infatuated with Crawford. It's a little bizarre. But here's what he had to say about... He concurs with Crawford that he should not fight Crawford-Ennis. He says, Boots hasn't really got the opportunity to prove himself yet. Hasn't really got... I don't know if that's grammatically correct. Anyway, Crawford-Ennis will give blah, blah, blah. He said... Crawford is, I think right now, Boots should fight Keith Thurman, but he'll be the shit out of Keith Thurman. Boots is a bad motherfucker, he said. Then he said, when it comes down to it, Bud is at the end of his career. He should be focused on the big fights, the fights that are going to bring him the most money, as far as Canelo and Charlo. Then he said, those are the fighters who fought each other, blah, blah, blah. Bob's opinion, then he said, I think Bud outboxes the shit out of Canelo. He won't be different. But you got to give Errol Spence his flowers because he's a warrior, blah, blah, blah. So he's one of those dudes that think that Crawford beats Canelo, and so he should waste no time against Ennis. That's his opinion. And hopefully Crawford doesn't listen to Shakur Stevenson in terms of advice, because Shakur Stevenson tends to get into some hot situations himself.
If you say, BDA, this is my opinion, if you say like a person like, quote unquote, what Shakur Stevens says, that Bud wipes the floor with Canelo, that's telling me that he is fucking like a fanboy for Crawford, and he's not objective, and he's on some fucking some woke shit. Because if I say Canelo wipes the floor with Charlo, that doesn't sound crazy. Correction, he wiped the floor with Crawford. That doesn't sound crazy, because obviously when I say that, it's because going by boxing standards, he is the heavier man. But and I could also raise the fact that Canelo have a greater resume, and he got maybe also the better skills. In my opinion, he does. But if I want to say like, okay, I kind of understand where you're coming from, Shakur Stevenson, but then we flip the tables, like what's coming out of your mouth, that Canelo fucking wipes the floor. No, because obviously because of the weight class, not because of a certain narrative. Because when you say it the other way around, he's the little guy, and look what happened to Charlo, who's 54, a little bigger than Crawford. Now you're gonna tell me that Crawford's like leagues and levels above a bigger man like Charlo? That's man, it's just crazy to me.
Crawford is very.
I agree. I was gonna say the only thing I think he has leaps and bounds over Charlo is heart. There's no way Crawford would lay down the way he did.
I mean, Crawford has the quicker trigger than Canelo. But if you look at most of his fights, like for example, against Spence, he would continually catch him backing up or pulling out rather. I mean, that's, I think we've all sort of gotten in trouble pulling out sometimes. It doesn't really quite go as we want. But nevertheless, what I'm trying to get at here is that Crawford tends to bail himself out with his power too sometimes. He's very quick on the trigger, and then he catches guys with the counter shot, and he starts wearing them down. Against Canelo, I think he could catch him coming in. He's got the quicker hands. He's very accurate. But he's not going to be able to hurt or push back Canelo. In other words, when Kavaluskas fought Crawford, Crawford's back foot approach wasn't working. So he said, okay, I'm going to flip the tables on Kavaluskas. I'm going to push him back. And Kavaluskas wasn't accustomed to it. And that's partially what drained him. The other part that drained him was Crawford's punches, obviously. That's not going to work against Canelo, I don't think, unless Crawford, does it.
No.
Because we've
You're
had...
right. He doesn't have the power.
Right, because I mean, we've seen guys going up in weight throughout this rich history of boxing, from all the way from Bob Fitzsimmons and Georges Carpentier to Usyk moving up to heavyweight. Some of those dudes got the crap beat out of them. Some of them pulled it off. Michael Spinks versus Larry Holmes. That was the first time somebody used Mackie Shieldstone. Back in those days, boxing was in the dark ages when it came to training. It was always the same thing, just road work, sparring, hit the mitts, body punching bag, double end bag, speed bag, a couple of push-ups and dips and pull-ups and push-ups, and that's your strength training. That's it. This guy, Michael Spinks, said, I'm going to go with a guy that's really ahead of the game when it comes to strength and conditioning. And he got Mackie Shieldstone. He said, I wanted some armor to take the punches on the arms, the shoulders, all that type of stuff. And it worked. I mean, also Larry Holmes wasn't exactly the biggest puncher out there, so it's a lot of factors to consider. But it's not impossible for the smaller guy to beat the bigger guy. But to say that he wipes the floor with him, I don't see this being quite the Pacquiao-De La Hoya situation that we saw more than 10 years ago. I don't know. What do you guys think?
He's also a counter puncher too, BD. I think right. Crawford's a counter puncher. Like when he takes a step back, he's got these usually like 4 to 5 8, like longer arms that he can catch you on a counter when he chucks that arm forward and he step you coming into his wheelhouse. So I get it. He does have that snappy power where he's gotten like all these knockouts at welter. I believe all his fights. But the thing when you put that extra weight on, are you gonna still have that snap? We saw that Wilder lost it a little bit, right?
Yes, right.
Right, and you gotta put it from the floor up equally. And Canelo, he can take a shot, so it's not like you're gonna knock him out like all these welters. And let's say you do hit hard, if you lose that extra snap, can you knock him out with one punch to where when he fucking pulls those arms up and gets inside of you, then can you take his punch, right?
Yeah.
Can you take as much of a licking as Canelo can? That we understand you have power, but when he's taking your punch and you're not, what's gonna happen then?
Exactly.
Exactly. And I'd add to that too. Yeah, coming up 3 weight classes, it's just he's not gonna extra weight on Canelo. Crawford. He's gonna definitely lose some of the snappiness of his punches, and it's disheartening too. It's not just the punches you're being hit with, but Charlo talked about a 1-2 he caught Canelo real clean with, pop, real clean, and he. Come out and say it, he kind of stammering around it, but he probably wanted to say it didn't even phase him.
Yeah, he just ate it, walked right through it.
Just ate it and walked right through it. And that's when Charlo knew, like, damn, this is going to be a long night. Because that would normally stagger somebody, at least stop the onslaught. Fucking Cinnamon did a little fucking shuffle, bopped back and forth, and just came right back at him. So, and yeah, they probably punch about the same hardness, about the same, I'd say, Charlo and Crawford, but Crawford is sneaky. He throws his punches. He hides them better. He sets up his punches much better, too. But it would just be ridiculous. And it's, at some point, I know the money might be there and other people might ask for it, but he's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. Canelo, meaning, well, of course you beat him. He's come up 3 weight classes. But if you lose, you're crucified. You lost to a fucking kid who came up 3 weight classes. So at some point, those money fights might be there, but it's like, and I think that's the reason why he first responded to it. Like, yeah, nah, man, it's 3 weight classes. I think he even said it was silly. So I think it's dumb.
Yeah, I'm on the
Myself,
record saying
anyways.
I want to see Canelo Benavidez more than Crawford, but that Crawford versus Canelo, that brings something that the Benavidez one doesn't. That's that magic, as I like to call it. That dare to be real, dare to be great stuff. Pound for pound, number one guy. Can he pull it off against the bigger guy? You know that's how they're gonna sell it. That's gonna be the narrative. So that's the one that will get people talking. But the Canelo Benavidez, that's more for us hardcores. So that's the way I would put it. Now, Jimmy, I want to get to the that thing there about the
BDA, can
PBC.
I comment on that topic just before we move on? Please.
How do I kick Pete out again? How do I kick people out of the Discord? No, go ahead.
You motherfucker.
There's a category. It says kick Pete out. It should be right there.
Look, it recognizes Avatar. The thing about it is
Thank you. Thank you.
The Pacquiao and the Usyks and the guys you're talking about, those guys were ascending weight classes. They weren't just jumping up just on the spur of it for a paycheck or for any other reason. Some gimmick ass fight like undisputed versus undisputed. Oh, okay, well fuck it then. If he's undisputed at 54, bring him up. It's the same problem. It's the same problem. Every few years we get these quote unquote dare to be great fights. And they either go one of two ways. They either go, a guy gets brutally fucking knocked out, like Khan jumping up to fight Canelo, or what's his name? Chocolate Brownie. Who's the guy from the UK? Chocolate Brownie. Kell Brook, yeah, jumping up to fight Triple G and getting his face fucking caved in, right? Get his eye caved in for life.
You got gay bashed.
Or yeah, gay bashed. Or it gets the other way, which is that the heavier guy comes out looking like shit for not stopping him. Like Spence and Mikey. Mikey jumps up from whatever the hell he was, 135 or 140 to fight Spence, and like Spence, dude, get him out of there. And the same thing with Canelo and Charlo. You got to get him the fuck out of there. I don't care if he's trying to spoil it. Yeah, Charlo was trying to spoil the fight. He wasn't trying. He wasn't trying to win. He was just trying to survive. So was Mikey Garcia. And just as delusional as Mikey Garcia was putting his fist up in the air after every round, if you remember that, puts his glove up in the air like, yeah.
Oh, that was the worst. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the same thing as Charlo after the fight. Well, he didn't knock me out. And then, yeah, at the post-fight presser, he's like, yeah, I still think I'm the best boxer in the world, pound for pound.
I mean, how the delusion?
He's the guy's smiling. He doesn't have a fucking mark on him. Yeah, he's delusional. Not a mark on his face. Took one knee from one concussion shot. But, dude, come on, man. You look like shit for not getting him out of there.
Pete, I was going to say, you know why I was impressed with Canelo versus Charlo? Could a Canelo knock Charlo out? Okay, when Charlo went in there to survive, as they were mentioning, because Canelo, he looked particularly quick on his feet tonight. The other night, he looked fast on the feet, and that's what I'm saying. People say he have a slow feet, and even when he dropped Charlo, there's a picture like when he hurt him and that dude took the knee. When Canelo's front foot is not flat on the canvas, he's actually like he's standing on the ball of his foot. And the dude is not flat-footed. The dude is like, he's got better feet than people give him credit for. So whether you're the smaller, quicker man, I said Crawford is a counter puncher to where he retreats, take a step back. But Canelo, he doesn't have slow feet. He's going to understand the movement. And he's not always going to be his, like how De La Hoya said, with his feet are stuck in mud. Because he's basically like a back foot heavy counter puncher as well. That he's always looking for the big shot. No, he will trail you. He'll walk you down too. Canelo can. And that's where people are missing that shit, especially like a guy like De La Hoya. I don't understand why he would say that.
You know, Canelo's comeback to De La Hoya was pretty awesome too. He said, you know, maybe my feet are stuck in concrete, but your feet are stuck in high heels. So it was, it was like a tit for tat.
Did he say that?
Yeah, that's what he said.
Holy smoke. That's a pretty good comeback.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
He's sharpened with the tongue. Canelo sharpened the tongue. He's resolute, even speaking English and Spanish. That's why I'm impressed too. And that's why I believe he's still in his prime. Right?
He's got an acid tongue.
The way he processes things.
Yeah. By the way, I made that up, but I'm just saying that's what.
Oh, come on, man! I thought that was okay. You know what? I would have said, my feet are stuck in concrete and the kitchen utensils are stuck in your. Never mind. Anyway, listen. The point is this: we got to go to a couple of phone calls here, and then I want to talk about these new developments with the PBC because more and more people are saying that they're hearing through the grapevine that the PBC ain't doing too well with Showtime. But listen, the phone lines are open. Let's take a couple of phone calls here. See what people have to say. We still haven't even gotten to Joe Smith versus, what's his name? Versus Zurdo. And then Lee Wood versus Warrington. I guess most people don't even want to hear about that fight. Everyone is still high off of the mega fight from this past Saturday. But we'll get to it. Let's go to the phone line here real quick. Don't forget to hit the like. Let's go to 832. 832, you're on the air. 832, what's on your mind?
What up, BDA? This is a straight G Silver. I wanted to cover a few things, right? So,
a few things.
Y'all was talking just now about, just right now just about Crawford and Canelo, right? Y'all were saying that it wouldn't be competitive, you know? Y'all saying that I think Crawford beats Canelo. I think, listen, bro, I get it. Canelo's a special talent, right? You know, and I'm not taking that away. He's an all-time great. Matter of fact, he has an incredible resume. He's a last of a dying breed besides Crawford. Because, listen, Canelo does the same things that Crawford has. What Canelo brings to the table, his style, there's nothing Crawford has never seen before. Styles make fights, whether the weight or not. Like, let's say if there was the same weight. If there was the same weight, you know, Crawford would beat Canelo. Like if the Canelo that was at 154 pounds a couple years ago, or even 160, that Canelo was still Canelo. That Crawford would have beat that Canelo. You know, just because Canelo's at 168 now is like that don't really change the fact that it's still Canelo.
Okay,
you know,
so
he does
saying,
the same jab, 1-2.
But straight G.
Wait,
So okay, I get it. You're saying Crawford is that much better, skills wise, talent wise. So what do you see? Would you see it developing? Do you see it like a Roy Jones, John Ruiz? Well, I don't know if you've ever seen that fight, but do you see Crawford winning handily, or do you see him struggling? Or
no, actually, I see him struggling. I'm not gonna lie, but I think he will catch a Canelo, and I think he's the first fighter that's smart enough to actually hurt Canelo. Or besides Triple G, right? You know, even Triple G hurt Canelo. Let's not act like Triple G didn't wobble Canelo. You know, he caught him with the right hand. Crawford is the student of the game. Like Errol Spence comes in with the 1-1-2, like the double jab, and then he throws his combinations. The same thing as Canelo. He just does it as a southpaw. You know, and Crawford is a switch hitter. He could counter the same counters like in either stance. You know, Crawford's I believe he has what it takes. And if you catch him with the big shot, like Errol Spence was catching him with some overhand lefts, and Crawford just ate it. You know, maybe it might take a fighter at 168 pounds like a Canelo to make him be in a dogfight. You know, trade with him. You know.
So let me just get this straight. Let me just help me understand this. Help me understand this. So you're saying Crawford is that much better that the size disparity means nothing, unlike Charlo versus Canelo.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you look at the Danny Jacobs fight. You know, Canelo, he did a good job. Mixing it up. Like he throw like the Mayweather special with the he jabs to the head and then he jabs to the body. Errol Spence did the same thing. He got countered. I see a lot of ways Crawford could catch this man. You know, Canelo's good, but he's not a perfect fighter either. And I think Crawford could really exploit his holes. You know.
Well, let me get the panel in on this. Let me get the panelists in on this because that's a leap there. What do you guys? How would you guys? You guys got anything to say to Straight G about his comments or?
Well, I mean, I understand where he's coming from with Canelo's counter punching and foot work. It would, Crawford's. He would be able to catch him probably with some straight shots too. Here's the problem though. He doesn't punch hard enough to stop Canelo. He just doesn't. He could catch him with his clean shot that Canelo didn't see coming. It's not going to put him off his feet. If that 10th round Triple G right hand that crushed the side of his head didn't put him on his ass, there's nothing Crawford's going to hit him with, especially not acclimated at that weight. It wouldn't happen. That's my opinion.
Yeah, me too, Jimmy, to Straight G Twirl. And I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because he's a boxing fan just like myself. But if he thinks Crawford is better than Canelo if they would weigh the same, but obviously they do not weigh the same. Canelo's bigger. Life is not created equal when you want to step up to the big dog of the 68-pound division, right? That's not his weight class, dude. So you can't make everything equal all of a sudden and say that it's all skills pay the bills. Canelo got skills, Crawford got skills, but you're stepping to him 2 weight classes up or 3.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Well,
not
that's
equal.
the thing. That's
the whole pound for pound argument. If they were the same,
Well,
weight,
I mean,
if they were the same weight, I take Lomo over everybody.
I understand that, right?
But he's got one fight. He's got one win at welterweight. He beat one guy. He has one.
No, he beat Jeff Horn.
He
beat
key
Sean
fight.
Porter.
You know what I'm saying, though. That's what all this talks about is because of what happened with Spence.
Well, listen,
let's just take it easy.
Yeah, Straight G, we're going to be talking about this more as we get more information about in which direction both Crawford and Canelo are going to go into. But we got to move on here, Straight G. But thank you for your call and call back next, all right, man?
Wait, no, hold on.
I think Crawford would outbox.
Hold on. Reckon it. Hold on.
Crawford might outbox him.
Reckon it. Hold on. Straight G wants to say one last thing. Go ahead, Straight G.
I think Crawford could outbox him. The problem there is keeping Canelo honest. Does he have enough power to keep him honest? I don't know about that. I don't know. But the skill, like in terms of boxing ability, boxing skill, I can see Crawford maybe outboxing, but eventually getting caught with not having enough firepower, because we've seen Canelo take big shots, man, from Triple G, and I want to say to a lesser extent Bivol, who caught him with some good shots where you could see it got his attention, where it's a bigger guy, but it still didn't put like a dent on him. Like a real dent, meaning, he's going to be hurt and you almost got him out of there. And you seen him at least with Triple G, when he got hurt, he still kept fighting and he kept doing his thing. I can't imagine Crawford hitting harder than that at this point of his career, and being able to keep a guy like Canelo honest from rushing into him and cutting the distance and getting to the body, all that stuff. I'm not saying he'll knock out Crawford, but I think it's possible, and I think more than likely he wears him out a bit in the later rounds, and that's where he wins. He probably beats Crawford, or maybe even stops him.
All right, now let's Straight G.
Can I mention one more thing, BDA?
Well, hold on, but Gonzo, Straight G still on the line. He had one last thing to say, and then we can move on to another phone call and let you talk before that. But yes, Straight G, you want to say one last thing, man? Go ahead.
But yeah, and I wanted to say this, right? Y'all was talking about Demetrius, Andrade, and Benavidez, right? I think Benavidez is playing what he's doing is very smart, because right now he's gonna fight a FBA, a Foundational Black American, as they say, right? And Andrade, right? So that when he beats Andrade, and then he goes on to beat Canelo. After he beats Canelo, and let's say, for example, this happens next year, right? Cinco de Mayo. After he beats Canelo, they can't say, "Oh, he's ducking Andrade," because he already beat Andrade, or if he was to beat Andrade later this year. So I mean, after that, who is the LWBC gonna say that he's ducking? Nobody really. Come on. I think it's smart on his end. He's doing like the art of war. His giving his detractors no ammunition. So
That's right.
And Lee Wood, I think Lee Wood. Knocks out Josh Warrington too.
Whoa, there you go. All right. We'll see if that transpires. But shout out to you, Straight G, and thank you for your call, and call back next, all right, man? Take it easy out there.
All right, you too.
All right, now before we continue, Gonzalo, I'm going to let you say what you wanted to say, but let me just read a couple of super chats, and then after you go, we'll get to the phone lines here. Hold on a second. Shout out to Mars for his contribution to super chat. He says, the brothers were perfectly fine with Mayweather bringing up a lightweight Marcus, calling it a masterclass, but Canelo fighting a 154-pound undisputed champion is disgraceful. Laugh emoji plus clown. Oh, Mars is going at him. Shout out to Spicy Boxing for his or hers. I think it's a her. I mean, I'm not saying you look like a dude, but I'm just saying I don't know if you're a real woman or not here on the internet. But anyway, love the show, she says. And the panel, you guys know boxing 100%. Crawford is talented, but can't fuck with Canelo. Cabron. Viva Mexico. Yeah, I mean, listen. This Canelo-Crawford fight, I was saying that it could happen because there's just so much money involved. But I don't know, man. Maybe Canelo says, like Jimmy said, he has nothing really much to gain other than money, and refuses to take that fight. I don't know. We shall see. But Gonzalo, yeah, the guns. You want to say something, and then we'll get to the phone calls here.
Yeah, and I don't know how this is gonna sound, but this is what I think, man. A lot of the Crawford fans, I believe that they're kind of getting into their feelings because maybe Canelo has something that Crawford doesn't, especially when Crawford's stepping up to Canelo's weight class, and that's Canelo's strength. Because that's the missing piece of the puzzle in their minds. That if only Crawford could be as strong as Canelo, yes, he can give him a good fight. But you're not supposed to hate on a man when he's that strong in boxing. That it's not always skill pays the bills. Pound for pound also means the type of constitution that God gave you. Pound for pound. It's like if you drop a penny or something else from the Empire State Building. It's the same fucking weight, but obviously not two objects are created equal. To when Canelo, you're stepping to Canelo. Pound for pound means that if you're born strong with a good chin and you don't have that, hey, that's not Canelo's fault. That's also pound for pound, right? I don't know if that made a lot of sense, but people are kind of like, you're not supposed to hate on a man because he got it like that. Because if that were the case, then everybody would be a boxer. If they could take a punch like that.
Exactly. Yeah. I've said that before too. When people go with Mike Tyson, or if he didn't have power, well, he does have power. Roy Jones, well, if he didn't have the incredible athleticism, well, he did. Like Guns said, it's not everyone's created equal. It's you can't take that shit away. And it's the same thing here with Canelo. Well, sorry, he's got a great chin. And he's got the ability to pull on the amount of muscle. Well, I mean,
if Recognized wasn't born so good looking, he wouldn't get the women that he got. Well, I was born good looking. What do you want from me?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's too bad about the business isn't going so well. The selling the bootleg DVDs. Not everybody gets it off the internet, but at least you got the good looks, man. You got the good looks. By the way,
I'm at the point in my life where I gotta do things that they're gonna benefit me.
Yeah, because I was gonna ask you, Oppenheimer. I wanted to get that if you had it on DVD. I didn't go to see it in the movie theaters, but I think you closed shop with that business. So on to the next one. Mm-hmm. Now he's selling sex pills.
I'll get you one
out of the gas station.
I'll get you one.
Yeah. All right, fantastic. Let's go to another phone call here. Hey, don't forget to hit the like. Hit the like. Really helps us out. Let's go to 336. 336, you're on the air. 336, what's on your mind?
Yo, what's up? So I got a lot to talk about. I'm going to try and add a bunch of things, my opinion on some shit quickly, and then we can talk about it as panelists. This Crawford mania is getting out of fucking control. Oh. The reality is the welterweight division was far and away the most overrated division in the sport of boxing. He beat a Crip that was never pound for pound on an 18-month layoff. That was a liquid heroin addict. Yes, is Crawford a great fighter? Without question. But I question whether Crawford's best win is even fucking better than Arislandi Lara or Daniel Jacobs. And Canelo's beaten both of those guys. Yeah, his decision against Golovkin was questionable, but that performance showed me way more about Canelo than I've ever known about Crawford because he's never been fucking tested. He's been in a weak ass era. That's just the reality of it. I don't put stock in having an O. That means you fought bum ass niggas. That's the reality of it. Canelo's resume smokes Crawford, and I want to see Crawford in there with a guy like Zoo because he's on a KO streak. He's probably going to stop Mendoza. I mean, obviously we have to wait and see. And though on paper, based on total career accomplishment, that might not be his best win, to the hardcores through proper context, that's the best win of fucking Crawford's career. Don't go up there and get blown out by fucking Canelo Alvarez and sell your fucking O. There's no point. You could fight fucking Tim Tszyu in Australia for $20-30 million. And so this Crawford mania is fucking ridiculous. And I'm a fan.
Dora,
they're taking it way too far. Way with the whole undisputed shit. Way too far.
Dora,
Go ahead.
sorry to stifle your flow, but you're selling his O. Are you saying that this is akin to those girls? Sometimes you see them on Facebook now that they're selling their virginity online. Are you saying that's what Crawford would essentially be doing?
Right. Yeah, they make 8 figures. Sometimes some of the best, or at least 7 figures. He's willing to get buck broken for 8 figures. It doesn't mean anything. I want to see Canelo in more mismatch fights because I think Canelo Benavidez is probably, if not It's probably the best fight in boxing behind Fury Usyk, or Bivol Beterbiev. That's the best fight in fucking boxing. So I want to see that shit, and because I'm a fan of both. When it comes to Lee Wood and Warrington, I actually got Warrington winning. And I was talking with Doshin Gastos and, Never Sobers, and I was saying, if Warrington pulls off the upset, which I'm predicting he will, I wouldn't be surprised if don't be surprised if we see a unification rematch with Venado Lopez, because that was a very close fight. Yep. So, and I think that'll happen before the Robesi Ramirez fight. They might set up Robesi Ramirez with someone like Ruben Villa or something like that. I could see something like that. And what else? Maybe there's one more thing. Oh yeah, Charlo will always forever be a pussy. Charcoal. And people want to say, "Oh, you never been pussy. You never been pussy." That's bullshit. That's just deflecting. I've sparred. I've been in fights. These guys are fucking cans. These people that defend this shit are fucking cans. The reality is there's been plenty of great fighters. Hagler, for example, made 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 a fight, but he always showed up to fight, way before he was big on the scene. This dude is a privileged black hype job that showed up to fucking lose and didn't even give himself a chance to win the fight. He got punked. I want people to know that Canelo Alvarez punked that fuck nigga. At least Errol Spence tried to win. At least he tried to win. There is nothing worse than getting punked. Jamel Charlo got punked by Canelo Alvarez.
Dora sounds like he spent a little time. Dora, you sound like you spent a little time inside or something. You're talking like, man, ain't nobody gonna punk me, man.
I was just so frustrated to see this shit. Sorry about that.
No, don't worry about it. No, that's all right. That's all right. Well, listen,
excuse me, amigo.
Yeah. Anything else you got to say before we move on?
Just to put in or just to finish up. Crawford's obviously great, but we can't be overrating his wins. Like they're all-time great. Errol Spence is no Hall of Famer. He's no all-time great fighter. He's just not. And I eventually want to see Crawford get tested. And also, I got Zerto over Joe Smith this weekend.
There you go.
So I got Warrington, Joe Smith, and Zerto Ramirez winning. Also, one last thing. Even Davina fucking Devin Haney is better than fucking Errol Spence. Devin Haney is going to win a boring, lopsided decision against Prograis and wash him. I hope he gets caught, but it's not going to happen. And, that's just reality. But even Haney's a better fucking, black American stud than fucking Spence. That's just the reality of it.
All right.
And because at least he was competitive with an elite pound-for-pound fighter. Fucking God, this mania is out of fucking control. If Crawford goes up in weight, he gets smoked by Canelo Alvarez, just like fucking Charlo did. Mismatch. I don't want to see it, and I'm out.
All right, take it easy out there, Dora. Thank you for your call. Don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like. Really helps us out. Shout out to Don Chile Relleno for his contribution. Super chat. He says the LDBC Canelo haters are on suicide watch. They only have 2 hype jobs left: Crawfish and Bomb Raid. And once they dispose of those 2 bombs, game over. Interesting. Shout out to Don Chile for his contribution to the super chat. Like I said, don't forget to hit the like. Let's get another phone call here. Let's go to 915. 915, you're on the air. 915, what's on your mind?
Buenas noches, señores. Nomás quiero decir que se dejen de mamadas. Ese de Crawford versus Canelo, bro. Y'all need to chill. Crawford is about to be 37 fucking years old. You want this man to jump up 21 fucking pounds. These are fight pounds, bro. These are not rehydration pounds. I don't really want to see that fight. I would, if it gets made, I'll watch it just to see the same shit I saw on Saturday. A bigger dude just bully around a guy with more skills. Fucking when I get tired of these comparisons that Street G or whatever his name was. He tried to compare Errol Spence to Canelo like if they're similar. I mean, to me, Errol Spence is a fucking stationary punching bag, bro. He's always been that.
Well, Kohler, that fight, Spence versus Crawford was a very. I contend that it was overhyped. What do you think about that? The whole fight, the whole event was overhyped.
Spence?
Yes.
No, it was. It was a hype job. I think they built it off because Spence was supposed to fight Canelo first. I remember there was talks where he was part of that 3-fight deal Canelo had with PBC way before, where he rejected it. Because back then, I don't know if you guys remember, but the talks were that Spence would beat Canelo.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember going at it with some people on this show, not on this panel, but people that would call in and all that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But you know what's interesting about that, caller? Let me ask you this, caller. Let me ask you this. What do you think about that when people see other fighters? Like, for example, when Canelo fought Bivol, after he lost, people said, Canelo got exposed. But when Spence loses, and not only the decision, he gets his ass beat and gets stopped, never even won a round, I don't think. Instead of saying Spence got exposed and keeping the same energy, they say, what a great fight. I mean, let's give it up to both guys for making the fight happen. They don't really address the fact that maybe Errol Spence had been overhyped all along. What do you think about that?
That wasn't Spence in there.
Oh no, and on top of that, they build excuses on top of those fighters. The excuse with Spence is what? He's weight drained. He's too big for the division now. He's been there too long. Blah 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 blah. That shit gets annoying, bro. Would you guys say Canelo would be the most skilled fighter Spence would have on his record if they were to face each other?
But a one-word answer,
yes,
guys. Okay, Gonzalo said yes. Jimmy or Pete and Recognize.
Where would you guys rank Spence and Canelo's list of tough fighters?
Where would you rate who?
Where would Terrence Crawford?
Can I give a short reply to that?
Hold on. I want to listen. Yeah, I couldn't hear his question, man. Repeat the question, please.
Where would Terrence Crawford land in Canelo's list of opponents he's faced?
Gonzalo, what do you
meaning a difficulty?
Skill for skill, given the style, pound for pound. If we would have to say that the same weight class, you see, that's very difficult to qualify, to quantitate. I think that's the word. Beating with Danny Jacobs, maybe under Triple G. But to answer your question better, Spence was not Crawford's Triple G, right? To Canelo fighting Triple G, because Spence didn't have the power and the chin as of a Triple G at the time that he fought Crawford.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair way of putting it right there. What Gonzalo's saying, Spence was not Triple G.
And then when it comes to comparing, you know how they say, Bud will fucking walk through Canelo, he'll outbox him, this and that. I mean, they're looking at a 147-pound guy that's very agile and fast. They're not taking into account that this motherfucker's going to have to go up 3 divisions and carry all that weight. They think that the dude is going to function the same way that he does in a smaller weight. It's fucking dumb.
There you go, man. There you go. I mean, listen.
When they did that's what I said when Charlo, when we're saying Charlo was going to be faster than Canelo, and that's not what I saw in the fucking fight this Saturday.
Well, there you go, man. I mean, listen, we'll see what happens with that fight. Maybe it'll go away, or maybe too much money will tempt both fighters, Canelo and Crawford, to get in there. All right, well, listen, caller, thank you for your call. Call back next time, right, man? Take it easy out there. All right, let's go to their phone call. Don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like. All right, let's keep it spicy here. Let's go to 858. 858, you're on the air. 858, what's on your mind?
Hi, what are you guys talking about?
Well, you tell me, man.
You guys talking about Canelo and Crawford?
Well, I mean,
I think my call's a little choppy, but I just wanted to point out, like, I hear everybody talking about like Canelo's like record, and it's padded with all these like people that he drug up in weight and stuff. But like, I think people are forgetting like what happened when he fought Amir Khan. So like one of the examples was Amir Khan, like Canelo drug up Amir Khan. But the thing is, it's Amir Khan, Canelo didn't drag up Amir Khan. Amir Khan requested to fight Canelo because one of the reasons why that fight even happened in the first place, or the reason why, is because when Al Heyman took all the fighters, Amir Khan stayed with Golden Boy, and so did like Matisse and I think a couple other people stayed with him, but it wasn't many. Canelo was one of them. And so Golden Boy was contracted to give Amir Khan a pay-per-view fight, and that was part of like the deal. Why and how come he stayed with Golden Boy? So he tried to get Mayweather, he tried to get Pacquiao, and he was like chasing him down like an ex-girlfriend that was like thirsty for her boyfriend, like chasing Manny, chasing Floyd. Like those fights even almost happened. If you want to Google like Amir Khan and Floyd is like done, or like Amir Khan and Manny, like those fights almost happened, but it never came to fruition, and thus he had to face Canelo, which was like the only thing Oscar could do to give him something grand. And so the 155, because Canelo was trying to fight at middleweight, but like he wasn't all the way there yet, so he was staying at 155. So that's why that all shit happened. It wasn't because Canelo asked for it. They asked Canelo, can we take this fight? And that's why that shit happened. It wasn't because Canelo wanted Amir Khan.
Well, listen, I'd have to, first of all, the language, yeah, good points, but the language, unnecessary, that type of language. But I will say this, I'd have to go back to see about the Khan situation. I don't remember exactly what occurred there. Nevertheless, at least Canelo took out the little guy, like he should have. Real quick, do you think that's what happens? Because that's the point of contention among some callers here. Do you think Crawford goes the way of Khan if he takes on Canelo?
I don't think Crawford should take that fight, and if he does, it's a suicide mission in my opinion. I think it kind of goes back to what Timothy Bradley was saying. It's like you take a Porsche and you race it around the track, and you're going to get good numbers. But if you put a sofa on top of that Porsche and make it run around the track, it's gonna behave differently. You're not going to get the same results. So same thing with Crawford. Like imagine yourself being totally fit at 147, and then all of a sudden you got to go to 168. And perform the same. It's not going to be the same. It's not. And Canelo's going to do the same shit. He's going to pressure you, put up the ring, and he's going to try to get a lick.
Yeah, Jimmy's asking, what do we call you, caller? I think he wants to ask you a question.
Bad Girl TKO.
Bad Girl TKO. I think have you called before?
I have. It was a while ago. I think we were talking about Andy Ruiz or something.
Oh, I remember. Don't worry about it. Jimmy, yes, go ahead. Did you want to ask a question or?
Yeah, no, that's who I thought it was. I thought she did call before. She sounded familiar. We don't have a lot of girls, so when they do, it's kind of remember them. No, no, I agree. I agree with what she was saying. She made some excellent points. The language is a little salty, though.
Yeah, the language caller. That's all right. That's all right.
This is a fucking family show.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, that's all right. That's all right.
You're making me come.
Now, I wanted to say something about. Well, listen. If you got anything else you want to say before we move on?
Go ahead.
No, do you want to say anything else before we move on?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm good. I just wanted to point that out about I'm not saying like I'm not giving Canelo this pass for fighting like smaller guys, but there's always a reason behind all of these things. And I do think he's going to fight Benavidez at the very end. I think he's going to fight it at the very end of this 3-fight deal.
Mm-hmm.
Did I get cut off?
No, you're still here.
Yeah. Yeah. And then like possibly he'll either fight the winner of Jamel Charlo and Benavidez, or he'll fight the winner of Benavidez and Andrade. I think that's the move he's going to make.
Well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Hopefully, listen, whatever happens. Was that recognized?
I want to ask her how she got into boxing.
Oh, personal question. Yes, go ahead, caller. How did you get into boxing?
I grew up in boxing, I guess. my father is really into boxing, and he made my brothers would fight, so.
You grew up in boxing.
All right.
Thank you. I love your show. Thank you, guys. Thank you for everything.
Thank you. All right, take it easy out there. Yeah, she grew up in boxing, and she grew up in boxing and recognizes something else was growing for him too, man. What was that recognized?
I got one quick reply too after recognize.
What's your sign? What's your sign?
No, she's out. She's out. We gotta go to another phone call, man. That they're piling up here. Don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like. Really helps us out. Real quick, fellas. Well, I'll let you guys take some of the calls. You guys deal with the callers because it's always me and you guys just stand there. 347, you're on the air. 347, you're here with who do I choose to take this call? Recognize you handle this call. Recognize, go ahead, man. Go ahead, caller.
Speak to me, Cole.
Hey, what's
Speak.
up? It's NPR. How you doing, guys?
Oh, NPR, you got to deal with Recognize here. Recognize will guide you through this call. Go ahead, NPR guy.
Yeah, man.
NPR guy, how you doing? How you doing?
Well, my
NPR
voice
guy? What's
usually
on your
puts men to sleep and makes women take off their clothes.
Oh.
So, but anyway, as far as the Bud Canelo fight, I hate to use these canned expressions, but there are weight classes for a reason. If you take a look at them physically, and you say, well, what is the max weight that guy should be fighting at? You kind of see, Crawford at his peak. You see with the occasional 154, Crawford could fight occasional 154, select 154s. Like Canelo, his peak weight is 168, with the occasional 175 are coming in there. That's a tremendous difference in terms of size. That's what made Loma so special, is because you looked at him physically, his height, his thickness, his strength, and you looked at him and go, he should be top weight of 130, this guy should be fighting at. He doesn't physically have the stature to handle that kind of thing, and I think the young lady who copied what's his name, Timothy Bradley, when he talked about the sofa, weighing those extra pounds on you and carrying around an extra sofa with you all of a sudden, that's gonna be a tremendous amount of weight for Crawford to carry on. I mean, I don't think he has the kind of pop at that weight to affect Canelo in any kind of way. As far as the skill level goes, I've heard this so many times, and we hear this over and over again, that, he's so much more skilled. If you take a look at the fight like Danny Jacobs, well, Canelo basically turned that into a defensive highlight, got one of the most defensive highlight reels, most famous defensive highlight reels of all time out of that fight against Danny Jacobs, where he's standing in the middle of the ring and Jacobs couldn't touch him. And you have to think about, well, look at the stature and power that Danny Jacobs had, a highly skilled fighter who took 3 rounds and also went lefty. He went lefty in some of the later rounds, 7, 8, and 9. He turned it around, looked very comfortable doing it, and still got beat. I mean, to say that Canelo doesn't have the kind of skills, he has excellent defensive skills. He isn't just a high guard like Castaño was, which was the best comparison we had for Charlo before the Charlo fight. He has an active high guard. Castaño doesn't have an active high guard. He can parry punches. Whatever punch you throw at him, he can fight off the front foot. He can fight off the back foot. It's not like you're going to throw at Canelo anything that he hasn't seen before. You combine that with the weight of Bud Crawford, and it's just not a fight worth watching. Add to that the notion that what's in it for him? What's in it for Canelo? If he loses, he's going to say, "Oh, Canelo's a bum," right? And if he wins, he'll be like, "Oh, he's beating up on the little guy." As far as the little guy,
picking on a little
him
guy.
fighting up,
He's picking on the littler Bud Crawford, who, by the way, is longer than he's at least the same height as him, and he's a longer guy, but he fights at a lower weight class. I agree with everything you said. I don't think that fight will happen outside of the money just being too good, and that they'll take the fight because of then. They'll take the fight on if the money's worth it, and basically it'll be Crawford that has everything to gain outside of the money, and Canelo wouldn't really have much to gain.
Well, that's a great point to recognize. And NPR guy, before we move on here, I got to tell you, NPR, the other dude that people confuse with you, the guy who calls himself your father, you should go over to Ringside Reporter because he calls in over there as well. So you should call in over there after or before him, whichever point, and take the word to him. Because I think that's where he first started calling in. So I'm just giving you some advice because I know you didn't. You took umbrage with the fact that he called you that you were his son. So if you want to take the word to him in his neighborhood, guerrilla warfare, man, go ahead, man. You gotta do what you gotta do, NPR.
NPR guys,
that's okay. I'm the one and only NPR. He copied me.
I mean, that's what
I'm
the war's
nobody's son, cocksucker.
There you go. The war will decide.
I got an audio of that guy calling you a son. You ready for it? NPR is my son.
Gentlemen, it's been good speaking with you again.
All right. Take it easy out there, NPR guy. Thank you for your call, man.
Galimnita.
Later.
I don't know what the fuck are you guys talking about. All right. Don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like.
He's
Jimmy,
Greek.
We hear the baby shower in the background, man. All right. Hold on. It's getting too crazy here. Let's go to another phone call here. Don't forget to hit the like. All right. Jeez, Luis, shut up. 945. You're on the air. 945. What's on your mind?
Yo, what's going on, Rick? It's Real Talk Boxing.
Oh, Real Talk. What's up, man?
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I sat and waited for about 45 minutes, but no problem.
All right.
Now, I wanted to talk about the Crawford and Canelo fight. The thing about Crawford, and I really like Crawford. He's one of my favorite fighters. The issue I have with him is, his fan base is starting to act the same way how Errol's fan base acts. They're very arrogant and smug, and they're fucking annoying. Excuse my language.
Yeah. Please.
But I like Crawford. I really, he's funny. He's like unintentionally funny, and he's got a great character.
What do you mean by he's funny?
I feel like he's getting a little big for his britches.
You think that? Well, first of all, you bring up an interesting point about the fan base. You bring up an interesting thing about the fan base. If you could name one thing that's starting to grate you a little bit, what would you say it is?
It's the way that they say how it's the same thing with any person that they want to see beat Canelo. It's the same things. They lie about Canelo's skills. They say how he's just gonna knock Canelo out. It's just the way how they need to tear down a fighter in order to support their fighter instead of just saying, "Hey man, I think it's gonna be a really good fight." You know what I mean? It's the same thing how Errol's fans were doing to Crawford. They wouldn't give Crawford any of his credit. They're like, and the issue I have with the fight is these people won't give Canelo his credit for going undisputed at 168. They say it was a weak division. He went up there, it was a bunch of white boys. It's really weird how they act. Then they say, oh, well, we're not going to give him credit for Jermell at 154. And so what the fuck are you going to give him credit for Bud at 147?
Yeah, listen, the language, again, but I will say this. So, in other words, what you're saying is that Terence Crawford has turned into or his fans rather, have turned into gaping assholes. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's essentially what I'm saying. You understand what I'm saying.
I mean, that's the feeling I'm starting to get on Twitter, for example, just to name one platform. But I mean, hey, listen, it's boxing. If people didn't get up in arms, we wouldn't have the sensational conversations that we have here. But anyway, listen, Real Boxing Talk, we're running out of time here, man. Anything else you want to say before we move on?
Well, no, I wanted to break down what I think would happen in the fight real quick. The thing about Crawford, his defense is very great, but he's no Floyd Mayweather. He gets hit. He gets tagged every once in a while. And the thing about his defense is like he can shell up and he can cover up, but the strength and the power of a 168 pounder, it's gonna break down that defense a lot harder than somebody who is weight drained at 147 like an Errol Spence. And we've seen Crawford as a younger, stronger man, get wobbled against a Gamboa or an Ocampo, or excuse me, not Ocampo, but a Mean Machine. And you're now an older man going up to a higher weight, fighting bigger and stronger people. What is do you think your punch resistance is going to get better over time? Like, well, I don't know, man. I don't think it's a good fight. I don't think the styles will match up. But hey, it's what they want to see. I don't mind it. You want to go up there and sell your I think it's the same. I think I agree with the caller who said that he's basically selling his O.
Somebody said that he put in more cruder terms. He said he's selling his ass. But anyway, listen, we'll see what happens there.
Yeah. That's essentially the bunch.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens, man. Thank you for your call, Real Talk, and we'll.
Thank you. God bless. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. All right. Before we continue on, shout out to everybody in the chat. Don't forget to hit the like. We got the panelists here. We're taking some phone calls. Let me just read a couple of super chats here. Shout out to who else? Never Sober. Shout out to Never Sober. I don't know if he's still around, but shout out to Never Sober. He says one of Spence's best wins was versus Garcia, coming up from 135. Yeah, I mean that resume. I mean, he was dissected, man, by people here on the panel in the build-up to the fight. So I mean, yeah, Garcia, and he couldn't even drop the guy or anything. I mean, come on. Shout out to Manny G for his contribution to the super chat. He says that wasn't Spence up there. That was a clone. Well, listen, hey, yeah, we'll get Shadowman to chime in on that one. He knows all about the Dulce base and the clones. Maybe we need to talk to him, get an expert opinion on that. Shout out to Rafael Garza for his contribution to super chat. He says, for the people that say Canelo is on roids, Canelo cooks Alicia Baumgartner's omelets for breakfast. Oh, there you go. That's another woman that apparently. Another woman. That's a woman that apparently tested positive. And shout out to Boxing Expert for his contribution. Oh boy. Shout out to Expert for his contribution. And he says, El Bandera Gorda, that means Benavidez, almost has tits as big as my as my sister-in-law, Booty Juice. Speaking of Booty Juice, your sister sends hello. Oh, come on. So he's intimating that Booty Juice has tits and that Boxing Expert is banging her on the regular. So shout out to Boxing Expert. Always keeps it controversial. Always keeps it spicy, as we like to say around here. Let's get to another phone call here. Let's go to 929. 929, you're on the air. 929, what's in your mind? 929, you're on the air. Going once. Going twice. All right, we'll catch you. Call back if you have the chance, sir. All right, let's go to another phone call here. Let's go to 510. 510, you're in the air. 510, what's in your mind?
Hey, what's up, Jimmy? What's up, BDA? What's up, Recognize? What's up, Gonzalo? What's up, Pete? What's up, Mr. Booty Juice? Came to call in real quick.
Well, hold on. Hey, before you
man,
go
I heard
on.
the little fruit coot.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, go ahead. Address that.
Go ahead. Yeah, what?
Address that. Address the comments from Boxing Expert that he made about you.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, we know the deal with all these Canelo dick batters. That's all they know how to do. They just want to dick ride. Hey, I'm on the winning team. Hey, blah blah blah. Like let me. I don't even know what to say to that fucking retard, man. Yeah, okay, man. Like, tu mamá me la pela. I don't know, bro. Like, you already know you like wearing dresses on the weekend, so I don't even know what the fuck. Why are you even talking shit? So, you know what I mean? But it is what it is, man. Just let them talk, man. Just, it's what it is. We can't talk sense to these Canelo dick riders. So that's about it. But yeah, man, I just wanted to say this. I think if the Crawford fight and Canelo fight were to happen, I think if anything, it would be greater for the sport, I think it caters to both sides. Both sides want to see it. Even the LWC people want to see it. So, yeah, I don't know if, I don't really see any negatives, really, even if the fight were to happen. I mean, I don't know why you guys are a bit upset about it happening. I think Crawford has enough skills, but that's just me. I think also he has the intelligence and the discipline, really, because all these guys have shown. But again, I'm coming from the perspective that I can't say much about Canelo's resume because, again, or, the people that he's fought, because he's clearly better than these guys, and that's about it. I mean, you guys pretty much on Saturday, this is what I saw, right? Because, again, I didn't watch the fight. I didn't pay for the fight. I watched the fight. Somebody, my coworker, legally streamed it. You guys pretty much paid for a fucking glorified sparring match. So think about that. Let that sink in for a second. And
by the way,
I wanted to address something you said earlier, too.
Boxing Expert in the chat says that the only dresses that fall are your sister's when I see her, brother-in-law. Or when she sees me, actually.
Yeah.
When she sees him.
Yeah, okay.
You gonna let him get away with that, Booty Juice? Get him.
Yeah, Booty Juice. What's this world coming to? He's gonna let him get away with it.
I didn't hear the last part. What did he say?
He says that your sister's dress fall when she looks at him.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
That's what he's saying. I don't know.
Yeah, that must be your dad, the one that rapes you every day in the basement. Maybe that's who that is. I think he needs his glasses. I think maybe his dad. He's locked up in the basement. This motherfucker could get like 15 minutes of internet time, man. That's what he's doing right now. He's wasting his fucking life savings on this, trying to roast me.
I mean, I don't know, man. It just seems to me like there's a lot of.
Like I said, hey, let me make it clear. Let me make it very clear. Todos esos güeyes que le gusta el pito de Canelo, que chinguen a su puta madre, valen verga, todos hijos de su puta madre.
No, wait, hold on. That type of,
sinceramente,
whether it's Spanish,
sinceramente, Mr. Booty Juice, yeah.
Hold on. Whether it's Spanish or like, especially with Bucho, he speaks Italian, Chinese, all that. When you talk in all these languages, whether it's in another language, if you're cursing, people are gonna understand it. So let's limit the salty talk for a bit. But here's the thing, Campos Vasquez. Again,
I just wanted to. I mean, I wanted to direct the message towards them. I'm talking to them specifically. You know,
well, when you said the whole thing about the dresses and all that,
you know what I mean?
When you said about the people wearing dress and all, I don't know why you sound like you were talking to me. But anyway, the point is this: the point, and I don't wear dress anymore. But the point is this:
you probably do wear dresses. Maybe
I used to as a goof. You know, hey, everybody, when you're high, you know,
I'm not going to criticize you for what you do on your spare time, man. That's on you, man. I don't care, really. Honestly.
You're going too far.
You know,
once.
Hey,
listen, when I self-deprecate, I'm doing it. Not
BDA blames it. BDA blames it on the magic potion he's always drinking.
Come on. No, wait a minute. No, hold on. But look. The Crawford Canelo thing resurfaced again. Now with that comes that thing that Campos Vasquez, the subject, Campos Vasquez called you out for a bet. Are you still up for that?
Well, yeah, I still am. Yeah, if it does happen, yeah, I'm still up for it. But if I were to put conditions, how about you put your money in there too? You and Bucho, because I don't know, yo no sé cuál way fue. I don't know if it was you or him that kind of set it up, because that's what I felt, you know, coming in. But all right, it's good. I'll bite, you know.
You felt like
you felt with what's his name with Crawford. So you know, But I wanted to see. Just let me know. Okay, who was it? Was it you or him, or what's the deal? Because that's the way he came out of nowhere. He tried to talk big shit. I mean, yeah, you know, he's a Canelo dick rider. I mean, I wasn't expecting him to think, you know, differently or otherwise, whatever.
Well, because you're the one that says that Canelo's overrated, so it's only logical. You're the one that said that Canelo's overrated, so it's only logical for somebody to say, hey, put your money where your mouth is. Now, Campos Vasquez is saying in the chat, he's saying $2,000 bet, 2,000 clams. Are you willing to match that? Or you want to go higher?
No, I'm staying at 1,000. I'm staying at 1,000 unless you put your money in too. And I want proof of that too. You and your and Bucho.
Well, hold on. Hey, you're talking to a guy who's a true panther of the Crimson Cross. There's no such thing as gambling, drinking, doing drugs, or any type of carousing in the night.
Okay.
Yeah. Despite what you had to say about that.
But you want to set people up. All right, that's cool. Yeah, that's
Is that how you felt? Right, Hey, hold on.
Either way, like I said,
Booty juice. Yeah. Is that how you felt set up? Is that how you felt set up?
Absolutely, 1,000%.
Well,
this fucking fruitcake comes out of nowhere. Look, regardless, it is what it is, man. Like I said, I'm still down to take Crawford. I don't know what the issue is. Like, I
don't know what the issue is. You're the one that's complaining.
I still think to this day, Canelo is an overrated piece of shit fighter. That's what I think, and that's what I know, and that's what I've said. So,
well, there you go. So take it up with Campos Vasquez, who wants to bet you. Don't take it out on me or Bucho. We're trying to help you here.
Nah, but I'm like, come on, Vidi. All right, man.
I mean,
no te hagas pendejo, güey. No te hagas pendejo. Estás el pendejo.
¿Qué te dije de las maldiciones, cabrón? ¿Qué te dije de las maldiciones?
I'm starting to believe you and Bucho are actually Jewish or something, man.
Te dije que no estuvieras mal hablando, cabroncito. Te dije que no estuvieras mal hablando. ¿Quién te educó? Yo no fui.
So who gives a fuck, man? Hey, this is a free country. Welcome to the fucking free world. You speak how you want to speak, man.
¿Sabes qué, mijo? ¿Sabes qué, mijo? Ahora lo hacemos en español, cabrón. Ahora lo hacemos en español. ¿Quién te crees? Ahora lo hacemos en español. ¿Entiendes lo que estoy diciendo o no?
Sí te entiendo, güey. Pero también, güey, pues como te vuelvo a decir y te lo digo en español, güey, habla como quieras. Me
no
vale madre,
mal,
si quieres como quieres, educado no, me vale verga.
La estás tomando mal,
me vale verga, pero así hablamos, güey.
Estás tomando mal. A mí se me hace, ¿sabes lo que a mí se me hace? ¿Sabes lo que a mí se me hace? Que no quieres apostar. Es lo que se me hace a mí. A mí se me hace que estás tratando de como salirte de ahí.
I already said yes.
All right, then let's keep it boxing then.
I'm still stay at 1,000.
Let's keep it boxing. Don't start telling me that I'm. Okay, but then don't start.
You guys want me to translate?
But then don't start saying then place the bet. You already know I don't bet. You listen to this show. I've said it a number of times. When you're on the true path to the Crimson Cross, there's no such thing as betting.
I thought you were playing like the whole like I'm a Christian boy shit. Like I thought you were like very.
Who said anything about Christianity? Well, hold on. Who said anything about Christianity?
You just talking about wearing dresses right now.
Who said anything about Christianity? Who said anything about Christianity? insanity. I said I'm on the true path to the Crimson Cross. You're conflating things. Yeah, that's not what it is.
It's
Anyway. But you're still on the bench.
If you're a degenerate, you're a degenerate.
Okay, but you're still on. You're
He
still
who
with the
believeth,
Yeah,
he who believeth in me, I have eternal life.
Yeah. No, hey, what did
He
you?
who
BDA
believes
was
in me,
talking
I
about
shall have
the dress.
eternal life.
He was talking about the dresses before. Now he's on the true path. What you were before doesn't make you now. I'm just kidding.
Exactly. No,
you kind of cut off. I didn't hear what you said, but yeah, okay.
I know it's all metaphors, but yeah, that's basically some. Yeah.
All right, now,
I think
Booty
that's what
Juice, I
BDA
will say
means.
this. I will say this. Yes, in the chat, there's a lot of people. There are more. I would say there are more Canelo fans than there are. What you
dick
would call
riders. Don't call them
detractors.
fans. They're dick riders. Just say what they are, BDA. Go ahead. Yeah, I'll
Well, no, I mean, but
go
because
ahead.
look, people in the chat are saying, like, for example, Manny G in the chat says Booty Juice's voice is breaking. Another person said that when they were talking about the bet, your voice was breaking. I mean, I don't know what. Just clarify for me. I don't want to put you in a bad spot. Do you or do you not want to continue on with the bet? Because if you're uncomfortable with it or whatever, we can always let it go.
I just said I don't know if there's actually like the phone is fuck. No, I said like I said I'm still down for 1,000. Not going up to 1,000, but I'll stay at 1,000. The only way I'll go up to 2,000 is if you put your money in too. You and Bucho. Because like I said, I don't know who was it, but I feel like it was a setup. But man, yeah, go ahead.
I think you were listen,
I stay at 1,000. That's it. And I'll talk to Campos about it.
I think you're hearing things. I think you're hearing voices or something like a little schizoid, paranoid, that you think people are after you. It's Campos made the bet with you, man.
Oh, that's what it is?
No, all right. I don't know. I was waiting
This guy really, BDA, this guy really gets his rocks off with Canelo, like pounding him because he did what he needed to do. But it's like something personal, like Booty Juice. Somebody that looked like Canelo did something to you. That's what I suspect.
Nah. Listen.
Bro, he fought. Who the fuck? Did you watch the fight? This motherfucker fought he was in a sparring match. And you motherfuckers go fight like he fucking fought fucking Mike Tyson or something. That's all I'm saying. He fucking fought a nobody and he's fucking getting paid for it. It is what it is. But that's what it was. All I'm saying is that just call out his skill level for what it is. He fought a fucking bum. And he's gonna keep fighting fucking bums. How come if he was so fucking great, how come he didn't do that to Bebo or fucking Gennady Golovkin? He's not gonna fight Beterbiev. So that's all I'm saying. It's nothing like crazy or personal, whatever the fuck. It's nothing whatever, man. That's what you think it is, whatever.
Well, hold on, but but Gonzalo does bring up a good point because you say it's nothing personal, but then you say that the only way he's gonna be great is if he fights Beterbiev. I mean, this is a 5'7" tall guy we're talking about here in Canelo.
He's that great, right? He's that fucking saucy, whatever it's zesty, whatever the fuck they call him nowadays. I don't know, but he's that good, right? Well, let's see. Because again, he's not going to fight Bebo. It's not Bebo the one that turned down the rematch. He asked, look, this guy could have made the fight yesterday. He could have made the fight the day before. Fucking yesterday. He could have made it before then. 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. He's a fucking A-side. He could have clearly made it. Even if people asked for more money, he would have said,
it's not your fault, Booty Juice.
Yeah, hold on. Jimmy wants to talk some sense into you.
How much money does Canelo make? Like millions? $100 million?
Hold on. Jimmy wants to talk some sense into you. Go ahead, Jimmy.
Booty Juice.
What's up, Jimmy?
It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault, Booty Juice.
Not my fault? With what? Huh?
It's not your fault. It's not your fault.
All right, he's not gonna get it. All right, listen. This is Booty Juice.
Booty Juice, you never saw the movie fucking Good Will Hunting? I was expecting you to catch on. Sorry, buddy.
No.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. Mr. Booty Juice has.
I agree with Booty Juice.
Mr. Booty Juice has never seen Good Will Hunting, but he is on the hunt. But he is hunting Canelo. He's on the hunt for Canelo. He wants to see that guy get butchered. So, hey, listen, that's what boxing's all about, man.
I want to see him get knocked out dead. Him and his whole fucking everybody that he.
There you go.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with.
I can't incite violence, but yeah.
Listen, there's nothing wrong with a little passionate boxing fan base. That's what I say. Good for you, Booty Juice. And then, again, I'm all kidding aside. I did not set you up for a bet. That's why I kept saying, if you don't want to do it, there's an out.
No, well, that's what I mean. That's what you say, but you said a lot of things that don't make sense to me. Like, for example, when you just made the point earlier on about well, I'm a paying customer, therefore I'm paying for the result, right? But how come none of you guys say that about that? If that was the case, right, logically speaking, then Canelo should have knocked this kid out. He should have sparked his ass early on, 5th round, 6th round. He had him rocked in the 7th. You see
True.
it? That's all I'm saying. So when you try to make that argument about like, oh, well, why is the Mayates Army and the LWC side? Why are they saying Crawford can beat what's his name? Well, I mean, it's not about that, but whatever. But it's like the same shit. How the LWC you're stupefied, right? Like this is what I'm saying. You're stupefied at the fact that the other side's gonna like push back when you're talking shit about them and then say shit to them, and then it is what it is. That's the I get it. The fan base says you're going to interact that way. That's how it's always been.
Hold on. Booty juice. Let me reply to that. Let me reply to that. Hold on. Let me reply to that because he said that there's a double standard. I pay for a result from both guys. Canelo tried to do what he could to deliver, and he did deliver. He won virtually every round. Charlo's the guy that didn't deliver the result. He failed to do it.
No.
So there you go. So I
that's what I was going to mention.
Hold on. Next time you say something, I'll just go and that's it. That's all I got to do apparently. But go ahead, Gonzalo. Yes.
Booty juice. That's right, BD. I was going to say, Charlo didn't win one round. Did he win a round? What can you give Charlo one round? And if you compute the knockdown,
the 5th round,
it was 13 points up. Yeah. The 5th round. Most fighters, when it's a master class,
I give him the 5th round.
The opponent, like Canelo was going to step off the pedal a little bit to catch his wind. And if you say just because he stepped off the pedal in the 5th round to catch his wind and you gave that round to Charlo, doesn't mean that it still wasn't a master class. So when Mayweather wins rounds by outlanding you by one shot, then he still loses 3 or 4 rounds. They say that he's the fucking greatest fighter ever on the back foot. When Canelo coming forward and he fucking
This is going, Gonzalo, you've made that point before too. Yeah, that one punch at a time going backwards, that's a boxing lesson. But doing it forward all of a sudden, hey, that's primitive, that's rudimentary. But anyway, listen, Booty Juice, we got to move on.
That wasn't no masterclass. That wasn't no masterclass on Saturday. That was bullshit. Right. I mean, I'm saying that's putting too much on it. I agree with Booty Juice so much as.
Let me just move on from Booty Juice, and then because there's a shitload of other calls here. Booty Juice, appreciate your call. Always good to see you on board here, having a good time, and catch you on the next one. All right, man? Take it easy out there.
I'm not having a good time. I just wanted to say he won the 5th round because he that was his best combination. Charlo landed 5 combinations on him. That's why he won that round.
All right. And I'm sorry to hear you're not having a good time, man.
I'm not saying he somehow. I'm like, oh, Canelo lost. I don't care if Canelo's on the gas pedal or not. I don't. I think that's irrelevant. But that's why I give him the 5th round. But yeah, all right, man. I'll see you. Whatever.
All right. By the way, it's all in jest. Don't take this shit seriously. It's all in jest. It's all in jest. All right. Take it easy out there. Thank you for your comment. All right. Butch, the board of directors telling me to move on here. We're doing a lot of calls. But Pete, go ahead, man. Then we got to get some calls here.
Let's keep going with the calls. I'll catch up.
All right. Let's go. Don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like. Hold on. There was some super chats here as well. Who was it? Okay. No, that was La Fergada. Fight or Flight Boxing. Sounds a little bit like what we saw on Saturday. Shout out to Fight or Flight Boxing. He says, great episode, guys. I wish I could call, but I'm working like a dog. I agree. Canelo is too strong for Bud. Don Madrazos. Oh, shout out to Don Madrazos for his contribution to the super chat. I didn't know that was his name. Fight or Flight. All right, and shout out to Anthony Lopez for his contribution. Super chat. He says, un pinche pelirrojo se pisó al booty. Come on. He's saying that a redheaded guy had his way with booty juice. And we're not talking about a street fight. We're talking sexually. All right. No, but listen, I didn't know booty juice. It seems like he doesn't really enjoy going at it with people. So we got to maybe slow down on that a little bit. I thought he enjoyed it. All right. But who else was next? Oh, yes. 214. 214. You're on the air. 214. What's on your mind?
What's up, guys? There's some good fights coming up this weekend. Warrington versus Wood. I would like Wood to win, but I think that Warrington has a shot to win. I think it's a 60-40 chance that I favor Wood, but I wouldn't be surprised if Warrington pulled it off. And Gilberto Ramirez and Joe Smith will be fighting. I think I would love Smith to win, but I think
I think Zergo, he's just got, he's got more seasoning. He's got more fights. He's got more wrinkles in his game compared to Joe. So I would take Zergo by a clear UD.
Whoa.
And this Crawford and Canelo stuff. It's the guy that called in before me, Booty Jones. I get what he's saying about what you say. You trying to say something?
No. Did you call him Booty Jones?
What do you say?
Did you call him Booty Jones?
No, I said Booty Juice, whatever he calls himself. I think he's going to. I think he's halfway right about Canelo. If you're getting paid $50 million, I would love to see him try to knock out Charlo. And it did, like I said, I called in a couple of days ago. It did feel kind of boring, felt kind of repetitive. That it was a little bit boring. But I think Canelo should have went for the knockout. At least try. At least multiple times. And I think, but this Crawford stuff is just ridiculous. Crawford coming up, it's just retarded, And Shakur was the guy that really started this. Well, it was really Errol Spence man started this nonsense, saying that he could go up and beat Canelo's ass. It's just retarded. Crawford can't do that, and they're just trying to entertain it. I think Crawford could get seriously hurt if he tries to fight Canelo. It's just dumb. It's just dumb. He should just move on, make realistic choices like Tenzin or Jamel Charlo at 154. But Jamel Charlo, he hurt his reputation by not putting it all on the line.
That's the thing, though. Who's gonna want to watch him now? That's he slapped the boxing fans in the face with his
That's why he fucked
comments.
himself up at BDA. I mean, that paycheck better be nice because, like, now it's not interesting to watch him fight. Go back down to 154 and fight maybe Tim Tszyu or Crawford, because you kind of like you're looking at him like this is a dude who doesn't come to win. You give him a nice paycheck, and he's even though it'll be a different scenario because he'll be fighting guys more on his level in terms of like weight class, but would you be shocked that he lays an egg against them too? Like against Crawford or Tim Tszyu? I would expect him to.
Yeah, you're right, man. That's the thing. That's what I see in the beginning of the show too. Caller, anything else you want to say before we move on?
Yeah, I was watching this guy called Breadman. He's got very good insights, and basically he pretty much exposed Charlo as an overrated boxer. He said that if Charlo doesn't hurt you, he won't be able to unload on you and try to get you out of there. Because he said that if you really watch all his fights, not the results, if you watch all his fights, he's really losing pretty much by clearly. Remember, like John Jackson? Anybody remember that? John Jackson versus Jamel Charlo for the WBC title?
Yep.
That this guy was getting whooped on by this guy. And not just him, other guys, Castano, all these other guys. If he doesn't hurt you, he basically exposed Charlo that if he doesn't hurt you, he really can't win a decisive victory. That means all his and that's the funny thing. The LDBC never talk about him, how his inability to box. But he couldn't hurt Canelo, and then when Canelo was just very good at deflecting punches, and when he did hit him with some clean stuff, Canelo ate it, and it's like he was just basically he just confirmed basically he exposed Charlo without saying he exposed him, that this guy wasn't what the LDBC thought he was. So even if he did try to win, he did try it, but it's just that he's just not good enough.
Now I get what you're saying, man. I get you. I get what you're saying.
Look at man, that Castano fight was crazy.
Yeah, you're right, man. That's partially. I mean, you give him credit for unifying a division, but it's like with Josh Taylor. Yes, he unified the division too, but who did he, like Jimmy asked one time, who did he really dominate? And that's where you go, okay, not all pound for pounders are made the same. You got the lower top 10 pound for pound, and then you got the top 5 pound for pound. And Charlo just never was that. He never showed that he was a top 5 pound for pounder.
He was supposed to destroy Castano.
He was supposed to destroy Castano. That wasn't, but even in both fights, it was a very tough, grueling fight for both times.
Mm-hmm. You're right, man. You're right.
He's just not that good. He's not that good.
You're right. You're right. All right, well, listen,
For
caller.
the record,
man.
Mr. BDA, that
Hold on,
guy
hold on.
Bredman he was speaking of, that's Stephen Edwards. That's the guy Steve Kim was talking about. He discussed
Right, right.
Charlo. Remember we talked about that earlier in the show? That's the same person.
Okay. Well, listen, caller, thank you for your call. Call back next time, right, man? Take it easy out there.
All right, I will.
Yeah, that's Stephen Bredman. Yeah, when he said Bredman, I said, is he talking about Stephen Edwards? Because I didn't know if it was a YouTuber with the same nickname, Bredman. Let's go to another phone call here. Let's go to 301. 301, you're on the air. 301, what's on your mind?
BDA, what's up? You know,
What's up?
as a resident duck cop of the channel, I have to call out this Booty Juice. When you asked him, so are you willing to make this bet? He started sounding Jared Anderson. He's like, oh yeah, that'd be a great bet to make. Down the line. I gotta go right now. I gotta go talk to my. I gotta go in front of the Home Depot. I gotta talk to my team. I gotta go on the lawnmower right now. I gotta
talk to my
think this
accountant.
through. But yeah, I mean, if if we have to see if it makes sense, we gotta look at the odds and everything. But I'm down. I'm game. I never duck a challenge. That's.
That's the same excuses that some of these boxers make. You're saying, yeah, I gotta go talk to my accountant, see if I can liquidate some money, free up some assets. But what do you think about this whole Crawford-Canelo thing? Because now that Canelo's won, that conversation has resurfaced. What do you think?
Listen, I'm for it, man, because this guy is like 4 fights overdue for a brutal knockout. I'm tired of this shit. I like to see a bum bashing every now and again, and fuck it, Crawford, he's 35, 36. His feet look like they've slowed down a bit. I don't think he can get on the back foot and run like he did against Postal. So I don't think he'd be able to be completely negative. I think it'll give Canelo a chance to, track him down, knock him out. But my only hesitancy is that I was expecting him to stop Charlo. I picked the 7th round, and I thought that he had a great opportunity to finish this guy. Just to make a quick comparison, think of Triple G at 33 or 32, right? When you get a guy in front of him and he feels his power and he says, you are nothing, your punches are tick, tick, tick. You hit like a little girl, it just eats your hardest punch and knocks you out, right?
With the accent.
I mean, Canelo could do that. He's got a good chin, but I've noticed that since the B-ball fight, he gets this mid-round dip and he doesn't recover like he used to. Like, it doesn't come back in the 10th like it did against Triple G in the second fight. There's like a real permanent dip. He recovers a bit, but it's nowhere near what he started. And so that's just my only hesitation, because this could just be another boring cash grab fight. I've noticed these guys, it's just like Canelo, like this magic fairy Cinderella effect. Every fighter in and around his weight class is just like this hoe waiting for him to just bless him with this money. And as soon as they start to see the guarantee, they start thinking about, they're like kids, they start thinking about all the stuff they can buy, all the dreams they can fulfill and whatever, and they never think past that fight. Their eyes go wide. I mean, look at Charlo, man. He had his wife with him, in camp. This is a henpecked husband. The ancient Greeks would spit on him and rob him of citizenship. they would class him as a sodomite and throw and cast him as a pariah in society. Who does that? Who's like sitting on the couch with his wife ahead of a fight? Oh yeah, I could do this. Oh, I'm not going to get trapped like playing. Oh, I'm not even going to try to win. Basically, is what he was saying. So
hey, but hold on. At least he doesn't have a catamite running around the house or anything like that. That would be highly disturbing, because I mean that's how.
No. You got it wrong, BDA. The friendship with the towel boy is what made men men. Come on, now this is how they confuse you, right? You have your little. It's a caring relationship, BDA. The younger man actually has a lot of say in these relationships. Yeah, so I can't speak on this too much, but this is overblown.
That's what. Listen,
the Greeks, to them, wives were property.
We gotta skirt around the issue. We gotta walk on eggshells here, because we got a Greek on the panel, or half a Greek. I don't know, Pete. What do you consider yourself an American, right? Red-blooded American.
Big time.
Big time. There you go. Big time.
Do you like a hero?
No, he's
Do you like your special taco? Do you call it a hero?
A hero?
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
A gyro. Is that what you
I
call
agree.
it?
I agree with the caller in this much. It's not Canelo's gassed out against Charlo. His punch selection sucks. He just is too in love with his power. He thinks he's going to be able to punch people in the arms. It's just you got to get him out of there. It's low risk, low reward.
When Canelo tries to go for the knockout, he's
exactly.
boring.
If you take that like a Starza strategy that Rocky Marciano took, you're gonna beat the guy's hands, man. You can't just throw one right hook to his shoulder per round. You gotta just hammer him over and over again until he can't hold his hands up. His punch selection, his punch accuracy has gone down quite a bit, and I don't think it's just a guy being negative or being good enough to survive. He just doesn't do enough. He doesn't feint enough. He doesn't do enough to set up his punches. His traps are pretty low level. You see how he started out, right? He started moving with that little weird, I don't know what to call it, kind of half shell guard he had with his front hand down. But then he just falls back to the high guard because he can't maintain pace. That's just, and that's how he gets eaten up, because he just stands in front of those earmuffs, and anyone can put him off balance that way.
Well, that's one
it's
of the
a
big
very
criticisms.
easy style to beat if you know what you're doing.
Yeah, that's one of the big criticisms that he's gotten lately. But listen, Irish Andrew Roy, man, we got to run. We're on a rush here to get to all these phone calls. But thank you for your call, and call back next time, right, man?
No problem, man. Hey, well, listen, down the line, maybe I could call again. I don't know. I have to. I have to talk this over with my people.
Talk to your team, see if it makes sense.
It's tough. I've been waiting on the line for a while. It's been a hard preparation. Right now, I gotta go back. You know how
you put on a great.
All right,
you put on
have a good night.
You and your team, you put on a great call, man. You put on a great performance. So shout out to you, man. Hope to see you on the next one.
I've done my public proud. Unlike Charlo. Okay.
Oh, come on. Now wait a minute. All right, take it easy out there, man.
All right, bye.
And just, by the way, just Mr. Booty Juice felt that he was being attacked. Just to let you know, everybody here hates everybody because now people are going after Pete. Chitlin Distributor asks, is Pete gay? Somebody else said Pete is...
Pete is Champagne's brother.
Nah, come on.
Listen, I just want to say, Mr. Booty Juice knows I'm like his biggest fan. So
there you go.
Even if I disagree with him, I'm still on his side. So
that's right. There you go. Recognizes he keeps it real, as I like to say. Omar Sinclair says Pete is no American. How do people know this? By the way, it's like, see, people in the chat, they smell blood and they just go after it, man, like a bunch of sharks.
He's Greek. He's Greek.
He's Greek.
He's a football guy. He's a football guy, not a arts and crafts guy. That would be a Greek.
He's a Greek from Florida.
There you go. There you go.
Hey, BDA, a quick thing. What the caller said, I agree with a lot of the things he says, but you know how you know that Charlo went to survive when he took the knee. When he took the knee to clear his head, he was prepared. You guys are right to run and survive. Because if he was willing to trade, he gets knocked out.
He thought he was in 2020, the summer of 2020. That's why he took the knee.
Like Kaepernick.
Oh, okay, I just got it, man. Jesus.
Hey, listen, that's
what the fuck?
wait, real quick. How many guys have tried to survive against Triple G and Lomachenko? And I mean, you fill in the blank against Crawford, dude. A lot of guys try to survive. Maybe not right out of the gate the whole fight, but sooner or later they do, and those guys finish him. He was smart for taking a knee. If he was fucked up, that's what Wilder can't do. That's what Wilder never learned to do, is take a fucking knee. Just take a knee for a minute. Take a count. It's not the end of the world, dude. But the fact is, though, that it's low risk, low reward. You brought up a guy from 154, some gimmick fight. You got to get him the fuck out of there. It's just like Spence and Mikey. I'm telling you, it's the same thing. It's like, dude, that's a shitty look. He won, but that's a shitty look.
Well, I'll tell you why it's not the same thing, but I agree.
Spencer Mikey's a little different, man. I mean, one guy.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Mean, one guy's like 5 inches taller than the other, and you got a guy actually that like started at 122 or whatever the hell he was. So he's actually even he was a bloated lightweight, and then he just said, "I'll sacrifice." He did a Charlo. He's like, "Yeah, I'll sacrifice my old to Canelo for a lot of money." He did the same thing. You know, I agree there, but I think that when you look at Charlo and Canelo, typically Charlo should be the bigger guy. He's got all the signs a big, longer arms. So like shit like that. Like he's just.
But I'll say this, recognize. I'll say this, man.
Like
I'll say this.
Mikey Garcia threw more punches back than Charlo did.
But I'll say this, man. I'll say this. I think that Canelo at least came forward, dropped the guy, and again, like Recognize said, not all smaller guys are made equal. But I will agree with Pete on one thing. We've talked about it ad nauseum on this show. That I keep bringing up the sledgehammer approach, whether that's actually helping Canelo or hurting him. And when he fought, imagine if he would have fought Angulo back in 2014, the same way he fought last Saturday. I don't think he gets Angulo out of there. One punch at a time. No, he was stringing combos together. That's how you wear a guy down. The one punch at a time approach, yes, he hits hard enough to drop guys. But I wanted to see an Inoue Paul Butler thing where, okay, the other guy's surviving, but at least you took him out. Canelo didn't do that. So that's one criticism that I will agree with from Pete's point of view. I would have liked to have seen a stoppage. Now, yes, Charlo he went on the defensive, but come on, string some combos together, man. Not just a sledgehammer approach.
And he didn't. And by the way, he didn't drop him. He hit him flush in the forehead with a fucking right hand. And 3 seconds later, Charlo took a knee. So it's not even like, let's not even say he dropped him like he dropped, like, you know, like he cracked him and dropped him. I mean, that didn't even happen. And you know, I'm saying the sledgehammer thing, I don't know if that's like, I don't know if that's putting a positive spin on it or what's that?
It's one.
Yeah. The one punch at a time thing.
Yeah.
Just stop punching guys in the arm. Punching guys in the arm is not going to get it. You're not going to break a guy's arm. You don't have a sledgehammer. You have a gloved fist, and you can't break how many times you ever seen anybody get their upper arm broken, like between their shoulder and their elbow? You're not going to break anybody's arm doing that. I know it's uncomfortable. I know it's.
There used to be back in the day. There was this dude, this Afro-Anglo dude in the 1940s. I want to say he would break wrist when he would go at guys. I know it's not the same thing as breaking the arm, but I mean, he would actually fracture bones that he hit so hard. But I get what you're saying. But I mean, we gotta take some more phone calls here. Then we'll go back to this subject. But and then I told Jimmy 5 hours ago that we were gonna talk about the Showtime thing. So let me just get to these phone calls because also we're running out of time on the phone calls here. Let's go to 213. 213, you're on the air. 213, what's on your mind?
Hey, this is Campos, guys. I want to tell everyone in the chat, hit the like button. And this is for Mr. Booty Juice.
Oh.
When I bet that Triple G would beat Canelo, I was called a Triple G fanboy. When I bet that Bebo was going to beat Canelo, I was called a Bebo fanboy. And when I bet that Canelo was going to beat Jamal, I'm now called a Canelo fanboy. I just want to put it out there, Mr. CYP, we bet online. You guys have it on record. He's not paying me. He owes me $2,000.
Oh.
Right? Now, the whole thing, I can't get a hold of him now. So if I'm going to make this bet with Booty Juice, $1,000, I'm going to go to Northern California. If Turo G wants to bet, I'll bet him too, wherever he's at. I think he's the one that's in Texas. But one thing I wanted to say, panel, is on the Spence-Crawford fight, how did Crawford fight Spence? With the high guard going forward. I do not believe Crawford has the legs that he used to have. And if Crawford is going to go to 168 and fight Canelo, what happened to Canelo with his low punch output is going to happen to Crawford because he's going to be fighting, 28 pounds or 21 pounds heavier. Crawford's not going to have the legs and Crawford's not going to have the output. The proof is what happened to Canelo. Look at Canelo at 154 when he fought Kirkland. He murked Kirkland. Okay. The next thing is I'm disappointed at Canelo's performance because he should have knocked out Jermell. When Triple G had someone hurt, no matter how much they ran, what did Triple G do? Triple G knocked them out. So poor performance for Canelo. And one last thing for Booty Juice. The reason they call him Booty Juice is because when he was born, he came out his mother's culo. All right, guys?
Come on,
I'm going to let you guys go. Thank you for taking my call. And I'll call again. Bye.
All right, take it easy, man. Yeah, that he brewed up a bomb there, man.
How dare you? How dare you?
I mean, I got to tell you, man, this is heating up, man. Crawford. That's what I sort of want Crawford. That's what I sort of want Crawford Canelo to. I wanna, yeah, man. You're telling me Crawford Canelo has to happen. I mean, if it happens, that's what's gonna be fun. It's gonna get spicy. By the way, Campos in the people in the chat are saying that they know who this CYP character is, or who he is, and that he in which podcast, what other podcast he calls into. So you might be able to catch him there. Let's go to another phone call here. Let's go to 314. 314. You're on the air. 314. What's on your mind?
Rafael Gutierrez.
Oh, is it?
Hello?
Is it the Greek guy?
No, it's a Mexicano.
Oh, Mexicano. Sorry, I thought. Okay.
How you guys doing?
Doing fantastic, man. What's up?
Okay, look. This is my opinion. Look, the Charlos were all fed tin cans, tomato cans. Okay, they were all faced with tomato cans until they fought a real man, a real lion, and now that they were fed a real lion, now they don't know what to do with him. So they weren't going to outbox him. They weren't going to do anything else. And then when Canelo got into the ring, he was a lion. The lion was meeting a fucking cheetah or whatever the fuck he was, because he was a runner. Okay, Canelo was the lion that night. Everybody, they called him out for years, for 4 years, all the time. They called him out every fucking time. And okay, they wanted him in the ring. They got him in the ring. So they got him in the ring. Okay, now he took over their lion heart. They didn't fight like a lion. They never did, and they never will, because they were always fed tomato cans.
Well, there you go.
So
man.
they didn't know how to fight a real lion.
All right, we got it. He didn't fight a real lion, and Canelo is the real lion, and he's got the mane of a lion too, I suppose, with the color of the hair.
Yeah.
And
Can I say something to the caller?
So I'm gonna tell you.
Caller.
So I will tell you this. Okay, everybody wants Crawford to go up 3 weight classes to fight him, right? Because Crawford's got skills, and he beat Spence with his skills. Okay, just because he beat Spence with his skills, Spence was a flat foot fighter. I understand that, and I understand that Spence. I mean, I'm sorry. I understand that Crawford has got more skills that Canelo does, but if Canelo touches Crawford, he's got more power. Did you guys not see the way the thumbs were in the fight with Jermell? Those thumbs were power punches. Those were all power punches. Imagine if Crawford feel those power punches.
Yeah, no, you're right. Listen. This
on
is
his body.
That's the main thing, man. It's the power. That's what's gonna. Some people are saying that just that alone, it shouldn't even be made for that reason. But listen, caller, we got to run here. We're running out of time here on the phone calls, man. But thank you for your call.
No, I understand that, But
all right, we got to call it.
If Crawford fights Canelo, it's going to be like Khan versus Canelo. It's going to be the same thing.
That one-sided. All right. Well, listen, caller, we got your point, man. Thank you for your call, and call back next time, all right, man? Take it easy out there.
All right. Thanks.
All right. That was he's adamant. Canelo takes out the trash and that he is a lion. All right. Let's go to 484. 484. You're in the air. 484. What's on your mind?
Hello, my friends. Hello, I want to say something.
Yes, go ahead.
I want to say something really quick. Hey, my friends, I want to say that Puerto Rican on the panel, he's got way too much testosterone, Holmes. I'm talking about recognize.
Recognize, yes.
Why does that motherfucker have too much testosterone?
All right. Well, he's not even here right now. I think he heard
and
you
Bucho,
coming.
he be cutting off people. What?
He heard you coming. Recognize heard you coming, and he hung up. I mean, he's not here anymore.
Well, then I have another bone to pick, my friends. I have 2 bones to pick. One with Bucho. No, I'm just joking. It's me, one hitter, guys.
I Recognize isn't even here on top of that, so he wasn't working on it. But go ahead, man. What's up, one hitter?
I just want to shout out to you guys. I was watching. I just wanted to call in. Great show. Love you guys.
Well, thank you.
Mr. BDA, Bucho, Recognize. I'm glad you're back on the panel. It's been a while. I haven't tuned in for a while. So I'm glad Recognize is back. What's that British dude that used to call in? What was the name?
Stu.
The crazy British dude. Stu. Yeah. What happened to that guy?
I mean, he sort of dropped out, man. He was having some issues, and then he came back last year, and we haven't heard from him since. I hope he's all right, because he hasn't even been answering his Skype either. So hopefully, if anybody's heard anything from Stu, and Stu, if you're listening, I hope you're doing all right. Hey, one hitter. I haven't forgotten the time you and Action Jackson were about to fight over the Second Renaissance. Jonathan Merson, Action Jackson, if you're listening, we need to do round 2, man.
Yeah, of course we do. I think me and him agree more than we disagree. We got in a fight over no fapping. He's like, you have to jack off. I was like, nah, you don't have to jack off everything. Like, we should not jack off.
Well, there you go. All right, well, what's up,
what
here?
the fuck? Hey, Gonzalo, shout out to you too, bro. Shout out to everybody on the panel. That's all I gotta say, man. Everybody, keep up with the show. Love you guys, bro.
All right,
making the show. I listen to you guys all the time.
Well, shout out to you, one hitter. Thank you, one hitter. Thank you for the kind words, man. Take it easy out there.
All right, peace out.
Yeah, everybody, it's a late night show today, 11 p.m. I think everybody's going at it, man, there. But that was a great way to end the phone calls here with all the fighting that was going on. All right, hold on. I got to go to the latrine, but I'm going to be listening to the phone, so don't get too rowdy. Jimmy, if you could take the lead here for a minute, if you're still there. With the Showtime thing, more and more people now are starting to whisper about the PBC and the fall of Showtime. Maybe if you could break that down for us, please.
Well, the whisper is kind of turning into a scream. No, more and more people are coming out now through their connections. First was Rick Glacier, and that was his Los Angeles-based attorney who's tied into the industry, and he said the same thing. But it was the shoulder programming, and you can kind of see it was going to happen. But now even Bob Arum, and he came out and said it's not a good thing. It's another less network we're going to deal with. But also another wrinkle into it. I've also heard now it's being said that he's also in a lot of debt. He's actually owes investors. So he took on more money and hasn't paid. So we'll see. I just know that he's burnt it. He's going to have to make up some kind of deal with somebody. I think they wanted to go the Amazon route. But Amazon, supposedly how the rumor is online that Amazon said, yeah, we'll take fights, but has to be big fights. And I'm sure all they had to do was look at the PBC's Nielsen ratings, and they're horrible. They're just horrible. And the thing is, his philosophy, like taking all that Waddell Reed money, putting random fights together that nobody was asking for in locations with no geographical relevance to the fighters who are fighting, and then putting them on a shelf, just sheer inactivity with soft touches, and we've seen the results. One champion after another, the whole upper echelon of the PBC stable has not only just recently lost, but beaten in one-sided fashion, showing that, and what's the one common denominator? They fight for Al Hammond under his direction. So, I mean, how much more of a sample size do we have to see that this fucking dude is not a boxing guy? And I don't know how, if he's going to stay at the Realm, they're going to sell it. Who are they going to sell it to?
Now, Jimmy, I was reading the comment section for an article that somebody posted about that, and there was one guy saying, well, they can always sell it to NBC, CBS, TNT, Fox, and I'm thinking, well, the Fox thing already came and went, and NBC, CBS.
They canceled their deals early with him. You know what I mean? Fox, NBC, all those guys, NBC especially, canceled their deal early. They walked away when they still had time on the deal. No, NBC, ABC, CBS, they all did business with Heyman, ESPN, and they all walked away unhappy. BET, TNT. And it's because they invested money and show the program, and when they start, like, you know, introducing the boxes, and then they kind of invest into the individual box and think it's going to be a boxer and think it's going to be a storyline, and then they never see the guy again. It happened. Oh, that was one of the major complaints. And so it is what it is. No, he's going to have to do it with the streaming service. But here's the thing: they need money to invest. So I don't know. I don't know what going forward what's going to happen. But too little, too late.
But that's the
getting
thing.
all these other promotions, guys. But what's that?
Yeah, that's the thing, though, because I am not people. Again, I got to reiterate all the time here. But when people say, "Oh, you know, you guys are glad that the PBC is over," it's, look, the reason, because we criticize the PBC so much, we criticize them because of what they were doing, or rather, what they were not doing half the time. But I was rooting for them. I didn't want them to fucking go out of business. This is less boxing for us. So Al Heyman, though, you know, people always say, well, how come? Why would Heyman not be indifferent about whether these deals work out or not? Because all along he was getting his percentage. That's why he didn't care. He was milking. This was a bust out scam job. That's gangster talk for, you know, fucking getting all the money out of it. Like I said, he was milking.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. The more he spent, the more he made. So why not just overpay why not overpay these guys as much as you can?
There you go.
And you can you can pay them all you got. I mean, if I put you in charge of something and said that you can get paid a percentage on what you spend. Come on, man. That's for there's no it never works like that. It's just not the way it works.
Hey, would this kind of be like a Ponzi scheme? I was going to say to BD or Jimmy, because at the end of the day, not everybody's worth the same, that you kind of recoup the money when Canelo fought now to kind of like even everything before that you spend. Now you got it back.
It's not really a Ponzi scheme. It's just kickback city is what it is. It's just you corrupt this guy into having this fund invest $900 million, and then you spend it as fast as you can because you're going to get paid 20% on every dollar you spend. So why not just spend it as fast as you can? Why not just blow through it as fast as you possibly can? All it means is that you make $175 million. I'm just saying it wasn't all fight purses, so I can't say, you know, he took 20% of $900 million, but every dollar that he paid these fighters, he took 20% of. So why not just blow it as fast as you can and pay these guys as much as you can? And the networks thing, CBS / Showtime, and then one other cable network, and then Fox did a small deal with him. But the other ones, he bought time.
That's right.
This show the BDA show could be on NBC right now if we just bought the time. I mean, all you got to do is pay him for the fucking. Yeah,
I don't want to be on that.
All you got to do is pay him for the time and go through the standards and practices. So
that's right. Yeah.
So by that metric, I mean, they never did business with him in the first place, except for any infomercial you're going to see at 1:00 this morning on any of those channels is going to be the same deal that they cut with Heyman. It's going to buy an hour of time.
Hey,
So the bottom line to it is, as far as PBC goes, I'll say this: it can go on forever for as long as they pay the corporate taxes and renew the license every year. I mean, it's just a watermark on the corner of the screen, PBC. But what is it going to be? It's going to be two things. It's a catalog of fights that have already happened, which, if you notice, like when Golden Boy did their deal with DAZN, all those Golden Boy fights that were licensed under Golden Boy, they're all on demand on DAZN for whatever that's worth to you. If you want to watch them, I don't fucking know. You probably got paid for those. So it's a catalog of fights that have already happened. And then it's a pay-per-view platform, which can be, it's a bunch of trucks. I mean, it's not like it's a promotion. It's a bunch of trucks. It's satellite trucks.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it can go on forever technically, but not like it was when they had that, when they're blowing through all that money. That's all.
Hey, let me read. Speaking of money, let me read a super chat here real quick. Shout out to Jaden Anthony for his contribution with the super chat. He says, "If Canelo and Bud fight, both of them are finished. Crawford would be selling his soul for a bag, and Canelo would be admitting he's ducking Benavidez." Oh, well, wait a minute. Why does a black guy is selling his soul for a bag? Why? I mean, I don't know. That's not kind of racist, there, Jaden. You better watch that type of attitude here on this channel. But yeah, I mean that's the fight. That's the money fight. Whereas the Benavidez fight is a one for hardcore boxing fans. But that's what I'm saying. They catch a whiff of that money. Shit, they catch a whiff of that money. I suspect that Crawford and Canelo might just go for it. And there's a lot of...
What's all this money you guys are talking about, by the way? I mean, I don't understand. Like this, forget about, they said Charlo made $15 to $30 million. That's bullshit. That's total bullshit. But let's keep
about 30 million and up. 30 million for Crawford.
No.
No, not 30 million up. Not 30 million up. Between 15 and 30 million. That's what the reports were saying.
No, I'm saying for Crawford, he said what kind of money we're talking about.
Well, how much did he get for the Spence fight?
Allegedly 20 million, 20 plus million.
No,
there you go.
No. He said he had an offer for 25 million apiece and that they rejected it. Then Spence said that he gave him some of his guarantee, which just means two things. Number one, he was getting a guarantee all. Spence was getting a guarantee from the get-go.
Uh-huh.
That's one thing to keep in mind of. But he said when they was getting asked questions, they said, "What about this bet?" And he goes, "No, I've already given him more than $1 million." In other words, I told Al Heyman, "I want to make this fight, make the fight, and if it means coming into my guarantee, then give it to him. Give him some of it." I bet you made about $10 million for that fight. Plus pay-per-view upside, which it didn't do. So
yeah, well, yeah, that
I was
Crawford
thinking the
thing,
same thing too.
Yeah, that Crawford Spence fight. I think that partially one of the reasons maybe why Top Rank couldn't get it done, as Steve Kim had said, was because they were demanding, the fighters were asking for too much money, and it wasn't there. The money wasn't there. But by the way, some people are saying that Canelo Charlo did 800,000 pay-per-view, but I'd be surprised if it was that high, because most people apparently thought it was a mismatch going in. I can't imagine that they would have bamboozled so many casual fans either into thinking that Charlo was really going to win. I mean, he could have put up a better fight, but to win, I mean, I don't think that many people, other than LDBCers maybe, thought about that. But what were we talking about earlier? Yeah.
And if he did make 800, being that he didn't really have that type of dance partner like maybe Ryan Garcia did against Tank Davis, when Tank Davis say he can pull a lot of numbers just by himself, would mean that in this type of fight that it wasn't like that high profile. He's still the face of boxing, right?
That's right.
If he was anything, we're close to that.
That's right. So, but Jimmy, help me clarify. Hold on, let me just ask Jimmy.
I'm sorry, but BDA, do you remember when Bivol had his purse held up because of the banking sanctions that were going on with Russia at the time? You guys remember that post fight?
Yeah. Okay,
so it came out. It came included in the story of the sanctions and the banking regulations, the FINRA hold that they had on Russian banks. In the SWIFT system, they were cut off. It came out openly that the purse for that fight was like, he was waiting on $4 million. $4 million, $4 or $5 million. So if Bivol made $4 or $5 million, why would you think that Charlo made 15 or 30 or anywhere near it?
Well, Bivol did take money, Pete. To be fair, Bivol did take whatever money they kind of offered. He did a minute later that his people kind of fucked up. They kind of jumped at the first offer. In fact, I think it was straight $2 million, and then upside. They were going to give him some kickbacks. So yeah, thinking he was going to run it back or whatever. I don't know what they did, but that's even how they list it. If you look it up, whereas Plant wouldn't even consider signing the dotted line unless it was $10 million because he had that belt.
He had the belt.
So he had the belt. So with Crawford, I don't know how much they made for the Spence fight, but it undersold. It absolutely underperformed. And the numbers being thrown around right now for Canelo, Charlo is $600K.
Okay.
Interesting. So I guess the guy coming up
And
in weight.
also, yeah, sorry, because he's Russian and he's displaced. He doesn't even live in Russia. He's over here. I don't know on what type of status, living in Indio, California, training at the whole DS gym. So it's like, you give me what you offer, and if it's Canelo, I'll take that because that's going to give me more money than any other title defense against the 75 pounders that he was fighting. This is Dmitry Bivol. That was the best he could do.
I mean, listen, they're all. I mean, when I heard that figure in the beginning of the show, when I looked it up, between 15 to 30. I mean, like Jimmy said, there's no way he did 30 million.
Bullshit.
I mean, that's.
What was Charlo's other options? What were Charlo's other options? Tim Tszyu or whoever else? I mean, those weren't going to pay him anything close to $4 or $5 million. So he didn't make $15 million. Bullshit.
But I wanted to ask Jimmy about this. Jimmy, am I crazy? Because I'm prone to paranoia. When these whole rumors about finally the Showtime and PBC running out of time, I thought, well, wait a minute. Maybe what Al Heyman or Espinosa are doing, because Espinosa, he's a shyster. It's all about his image, his ego. He's been getting into with people on Twitter since time immemorial. So what he was probably thinking was, okay, let me use some of my lackeys to throw out these rumors that we're going under. No more boxing at all. Simultaneously, he already has a deal where they're going to be streaming, let's say, on Black Prime or something. Now, it's going to be lesser fights, less often too as well, on top of that. But once he releases those rumors that it's out completely, all of a sudden, that offer, that new plan doesn't look so bad. You see what I'm saying? I don't know if you understand my the tactic.
No, I understand what you're getting, but it would, I think, just put wording it like that, he only has himself to blame there. That's been Espinosa's problem when it comes to the PBC and quality control. He never looked out for the network. He acted more like in his language, in the things he said, in his fucking word salad diatribes. He seemed more like he was working for the PBC, and he made a lot of fights that he should have put his foot down, basically is what I'm saying, earlier than he did. He didn't really get mad until after they gave the Wilder fight to Fox, or a fight that he wanted. And they tried to give him another one that was going to cost him $20 million, and he turned it down. That's when there was a break, and it was right after that when Showtime signed to Bellator, because they were kind of stepping away from boxing, because Espinosa felt slighted after, carrying the PBC for the last 4 or 5 years with their annual budget. But that's gone. Yeah, no, I don't even know if he's going to be staying with Showtime, Espinosa. Will he go with the PBC? I mean, I don't know how they're going to even cover any kind of money that he would want as a salary.
Because what I should have said was, I should have said instead, not Black Prime, but Paramount. Because, the rumor at some point was, well, maybe they'll take it to Paramount Plus. But even then, now they're saying that
rumor wasn't really started. That rumor was coming out from press releases by Paramount itself.
So
you know what I'm saying? That was coming out in Forbes magazine, and all the, Business Week, Business News Weekly. That's what those articles coming out saying that they're shaving off everything over at Showtime, and they're closing that network down and turning it into an app. Now, and they listed what they wanted to take with them.
Aren't they saying also that? Are they saying too that the Bellator is on the chopping block, or
on too? They're not taking Bellator with them, and they already. And when I heard they cut inside the NFL, I'm like, okay. If they're even getting rid of the NFL, they're not going to stay away from all sports and then just stay with boxing. What they might do is, hey, we have it set up. We'll go carry a pay-per-view, but who gives a shit? That's not Showtime. That's just the person with the infrastructure to be able to put on the fights. But Showtime's not going to advertise it anymore. You know what I mean? There won't be anything like that because it'll just be strictly on the PBC to finance it and everything. It'll just be Showtime with the handout. Give me a slice or 40% of whatever you guys take in. So I don't know why they want to stay there, because that means every fight they have, they will end up having. He would have to have these marathon fights, 4 hours, 5-hour cards where he puts on a bunch of cards on one show. Because
why not? Do it like the Jerry Lewis telethon. Why not? Just a bunch of fights throughout the day on a Saturday morning.
Because every time the PBC's on, I feel bad. Like Showtime, like Showbox, the Next Generation. I mean, those guys put in years into that program. They haven't even mentioned them. Like, what's going on? Like, they're just cutting bait with everybody.
Whenever
listen,
the PBC is on, and it's one of their bigger fighters, bet on the other guy.
Oh, wait a minute. Hey, by the way, that the phone lines, I thought they were closed. I don't know if I can still answer while they're closed. I'll try to get through. I don't know who, man. There's 3 phone calls. Do I just take them? Okay, I'm gonna answer all of them, but you guys have to stay on the line. I mean, you have to stay. I'll say one number, and then you go, and then the other one. Okay, let's go to 917. 917, you on the air, man? What's up?
That's New York.
All right, he hung up.
10 seconds.
All right, shut up. 773.
That's how bad things are getting in New York.
You're telling me, man. 773. You're on the air. 773. 773. What's on your mind? 773. You're on. Hold on, guys, please. 773. You're on the air. All right.
Hey, how's it going, fellas? Can you hear me good?
773. Yes, you're on the air, man. What's up?
No, man. I just want to drop in real quick that I thought that Canelo did his thing, but in the end, I mean, yeah, we know Showtime. They're going under Al Heyman. They're going to do what they're going to do. They're going to make the moves. If they go with this, I think it'll be easier, maybe to make some fights with. You got Golden Boy on the zone, you got Matchroom on the zone. So we'll see what happens from there. Benavidez is the next big fight, plain and simple. I don't see anything else that for Canelo for May 5th. I expected what happened for the most part. I thought it was going to be a late KO for Canelo in the late rounds, but yeah, we'll see what happens, man. I don't see nobody beating Canelo at 168 outside of Benavidez giving him a good run, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Caller, I gotta ask, man.
If he wants to go to 175, just stand by. Just stand by for Bivol and Better BF. See what happens.
Right. Caller, I gotta ask. Are you alone or is there somebody there with you? Caller, what's his name? He hung up. Oh, no, actually, that was 410. You on the air? 410. What's on your mind?
What's happening, guys? So, is it official that Showtime is out of boxing, or is this a rumor from Dan Raphael?
Well, that's what we're trying to decipher here. I mean, it started. Well, first of all, we could see the degradation a little bit, and then finally, a week ago, was it? Rick Glacier said that he's heard it from good authorities that Showtime might not make it over to Paramount Plus. Now it's Van Raphael.
Yeah, he said guaranteed. That's the word he used. He said more than anything, pretty much, he's saying, believe this more than anything I've ever said. Showtime will not be carrying boxing. Bob Arum has come out and said he's heard the same thing. In fact, he went on a big spiel about how it's terrible for boxing that they're losing another network. Dan Raphael has reported it. And also Lance Pugmire said his connections have said the same thing. Boxing will be no longer a product on Showtime.
Shut the fuck
I just read
up.
an article that says after 2024, I've been hearing now for probably 2 years, maybe 3 years, the same rumor. So I'm going to hold off and see, if it's true, just based on the fact that it's been rumored for a couple years now. If it is true, it's just going to suck, man. I mean, HBO, they were the gold standard. And I tuned in one night after decades of watching the best fights ever aired on HBO, and I was just floored when Lampley said, this is our last telecast. Seemed to come out of nowhere, at least for me. And, man, that was a hurtful thing to know that HBO wasn't going to be in boxing. Showtime
How
and
long ago was
the
that?
PBC.
How long ago was that, caller? If you remember.
2019.
2019, right?
Let me continue to say that Showtime and the PBC, more poignantly, no, they made wrong moves. But I mean, let's be honest. So is everybody else. I mean, Daz and their problems economically are well documented.
Right, like,
they don't do anything to appease the American market.
Hold on. Let me finish, man. Yeah, go ahead, caller.
Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, Daz, and they don't do anything to appease the American market. When they raise their price, I consider myself a hardcore boxing fan. I got rid of it, man, because they seem to be happy just putting on their dust ups that appease the European market. And so you got Bob Arum, who puts on some pretty good cards on ESPN, but ESPN's always flighty. Sometimes they're in, sometimes they seem to be out. Eddie Hearn said recently that they're dropping Bob Arum. So boxing's just in a bad place. And it's easy to blame promoters, and sometimes they do deserve blame. But I can't help but think that boxing's very low popularity right now is making the economics to even just have boxing as a sport. It's making the economics on everybody just really, really tough to do business. So you know, if Showtime goes out, that I see it as one less provider for boxing, good or bad.
This is definitely not a rumor, bro, because it's being reported on major outlets like Forbes magazine, Business Weekly. Like, there's 100%. They laid off half the staff. They got rid of the NFL. That's official. They've already, put a press release out on that. And they only show the programming they were taking with them to the app, the stuff that sells. Sports was never even mentioned on the things that they were going to look at. The only thing, the rumors in the past were they going to still invest the same amount of money, and they didn't. So they did cut back even as far as last year when they signed Bellator. They cut back the money they were given to PBC. So it's slowly been being cut back. That's why you saw so many pay-per-views start popping up.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all that they would maybe be getting out of it because, I follow boxing and I know how the popularity has just went so far down. And, HBO and Showtime both for years, because I've had both for years, they were people bought that because a lot of people bought it because, the movies would go from the theaters right there. But now things have changed, and there's plenty of places where you don't have to subscribe a $25, $30 a month subscription for a channel like that. If you just want to watch a movie, you can go buy it for $4.99. You can just watch that movie, and that's what people do, and that's hurt both HBO and Showtime, thus hurting their boxing budget. Is my belief, because their subscriber bases has went way down. And when this started happening, that's when you started seeing all that original programming. They went to basically soap operas, if you will, to keep an audience with that original programming. But that probably only going to work so much and so far. It's just, I'm not impressed with the zone. And ESPN, I got to give Bob Arum credit. Bob, out of all the promoters, he seems to run it more like a business than anybody else. He doesn't seem to take big risks, but he'll take some risks sometimes, but he kind of runs it just like you would run any business, based on reasonable profit margins and reasonable risk. These other promoters, they haven't got it down quite as good as Bob does, for like 50 years in the business. And they, it's the kind of thing, at least what I see is, if you got a couple good money makers, then you can, try to work the rest out. PBC, they seem to get off to a good start, but it doesn't appear that it was built to last.
Well, I mean, that's the big thing there. It's a sad day if indeed it happens. But then again, maybe the PBC, at this point, how many chances are people going to give it? I mean, they had so many chances to make the best fights, and more often than not, they just weren't delivering, man. So we'll see what happens, man. Hopefully boxing stays afloat. Thank you for your caller, and call back next time, right, man? All right, man. Take it easy.
Thanks, bud.
Thank you. And by the way, can I say something about the boxing? I mean, the reason why, because the caller does make a good point. If you compare boxing to where it was 25 years ago, it's still there. There's still, I remember when De La Hoya, and that was one of the recent ones, when he was about to retire, people were saying, well, who's next? Who's next with De La Hoya? That's it. And then Mayweather and Pacquiao filled the vacuum. And then after those guys, AJ and Canelo have filled the vacuum. So one of the reasons why I feel boxing can always remain, maybe not as strong as it was before, but it's because inherently the sport attracts people. More often than not, boxing offers good fights. Yes, we can have shitty fights, people backfoot bitching it, or people refusing to throw shots, or just clinching a lot, clinch fest. But more often than not, like I said, it's a compelling sport, and I argue that it's because of the rules. There's a reason why kickboxing, because if people said, oh well, boxing captures the imagination because it's a violent sport, then why didn't kickboxing take off? because that's technically, or Muay Thai. Technically, those sports are more violent than boxing because they involve elbows and more weapons. In other words,
kickboxing and Muay Thai is big in certain countries, especially Muay Thai.
Right, but what I'm saying is,
put it this way: they have a bigger audience in certain parts of the world, but it's not a big sport. Yeah, you're right.
There you go. Yeah, it's not as international as boxing, and I argue that it's because of the rules. Because think about it. The Marquis of Queensberry came about in part because people were there was one guy that got killed, and then on top of that, people were fighting in bare knuckle. So when they came up with, hey, let's protect the hands, let's create standard rules, and those rules, much like the Constitution of the United States, it's almost as if it was a perfect or almost perfect system. Because think about it, in MMA, which is appearing to be more popular than the boxing right now, but there's a reason why people enjoy more the stand-up. And even then, the stand-up isn't as fun as boxing because what happens in MMA often, if you see they're looking at each other, then boom, one big shot, and the other guy jumps on the falling fighter, a couple of hammer shots, and boom, it's over. Whereas in boxing, the system is you get dropped, you get a little time to recover. Not a lot, 10 seconds, but just enough so that maybe, just maybe, your ass can make it to the finish, and then maybe you can come back, and that's a fight now. So that you see where I'm going. So that's why the system,
rules. Are in the same shape as the Constitution, the American Constitution. It's there, but it's not enforced.
Right. But you get what I'm saying, though. That the style that comes out of those rules makes it more entertaining.
But also from a boxing standpoint of view, like skills, like for example, Muay Thai is boxing of the 8 limbs. That's what it's called. But you're all over the place, hands and feet. With boxing, it's the 2 hands, and you start when you're little, and it's a pure sport. So if you can do that with the 2 hands, like a fine-tuned machine, you're gonna excel with those 2 hands as much as anybody else in the world, more than anybody else in the world. People want to see that. The people in the suits, the rich people. That's why it's called prize fighting.
It's unique that somebody can throw off like I'll give you an example on the night of the Canelo Charlo fight on ESPN. I decided to watch ESPN because they were showing some old fights. They showed De La Hoya Chavez won, and then they showed Miguel Cotto and Margarito won. And just real quickly, like De La Hoya looked like a weapon at 140 pounds. Like, I think he beats anybody ever that's ever fought at 100. Whoa. Like, go watch that one. I swear to God, man. Okay, maybe I'm in the moment, but he looked like the perfect weapon at 100. He looks like he beats anybody at that weight class that ever fought there.
Even Haney, don't front. Even Haney,
even Devin Haney. Okay, he would have beat David. Man, he would have massacred Devin Haney. But he looked like, to your point, to Gonzalo's point, like it looked like he had mastered the art of like punching, just the combination punching, along with his footwork. His footwork was insane, dude. It was almost Inoue-esque. Like, I swear to God, it was almost like that. That's how good he was in that fight. I forgot how good he was on the come up when he fought guys like Chavez, even though he was much bigger. But it's just the he didn't beat Chavez only because of his size. He beat him because he was just so much faster with his feet, his combination, and all that stuff. You know, that's why he stopped him in 4 rounds.
I'll say this, man. And about you mentioned a good point though earlier. The rules. If we want to make boxing better than what it is now, want to improve it and get it back to maybe as close to what it could be, what it was in the golden era, you got to enforce the rules. Because I would argue that one of the reasons, or one of the many reasons why boxing isn't as popular as it could have been, or as it could be, is because the rules are enforced. People allow clinching, early stoppages.
BDA, I hate to jump in when you're talking, but look at Crawford and Spence. Okay, when Spence is in a tough fight, what does he do? He starts hitting you borderline, maybe low, da 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 da. When he couldn't do that, he was lost.
It was a wrap.
Okay,
yeah.
It was a wrap. He was lost, and that's how he would have been had he fought guys on his level, and the rules are always enforced. Or in this case, he never had a chance to do that. This is what the cream of the crop, as they say, will rise. And yeah, all that shit is true. Enforce the rules, and you'll see really quickly how everything evens himself out. You see who's who.
That's true because like when you don't enforce the rules, you contaminate it with the weight clauses and all this. It's not that pure any longer.
Exactly. That's why I argue about against the clinching, because the point or cheating at all, because the point of boxing is we want to see who the best is. And if one guy is cheating and the referee is allowing that and not allowing the other guy to reverse it, it's no longer a sport. Exactly. It's no longer, we're no longer finding out who the better guy is. We're finding out who the best cheater is. And that's the thing, though. Again, in MMA, what do people like the most? The striking. Come on, you ask most MMA fans, they're not going to tell you. I mean, some of them do appreciate the grappling, the jiu-jitsu, the wrestling, but for the most part, it's the striking. And it's the same thing with boxing. If you allow clinching, stalling, hitting in the balls, elbowing, it's no longer, it dilutes the sport, as Gonzalo said. And the clinching is wrestling, in other words. People love to say clinching. Let's call it what it is. It's wrestling. So get rid of that, and that's going to benefit the sport. But these referees, fucking corrupt, man, some of them.
Yeah. And you can see when these referees that we complain about, you can see them in other fights when they ref a fight according to the rules, the fight comes out clean. But when there's an investment involved, and we can all see that, you can see how this referee becomes a piece of, a POS. I don't want to say it. We're on YouTube.
A shitbag.
A shitbag, yeah.
Yeah.
A fuckface.
Fucking piece of shit, cocksucker, motherfucker. There you go. Hey, but hey, shout out to
Ricky. You can also measure, I guess in boxing, you can also measure some things that you can't do in wrestling. I'm not saying that wrestling, that's a Greco-Roman from the old school days too. Boxing's been around for 100 years, but when you have a skinny guy that can literally, it doesn't matter how big and muscular you are, can hit you in the right spot, people need to see boxing to understand that this is how this guy can do that, as opposed to, he's just physical, he can pin you to the ground and beat you like that. But like I'm saying, not because I'm disparaging wrestling, because it's been around for a long time, but you get to see things that maybe in other sports you can't.
Yeah, man, that's the thing, though. It's punching perfected, and like I said, the rules of boxing, when well applied and well enforced, creates ultimate drama. Shout out to Ricky Ricardo, by the way, for his contribution to the super chat. He says, "Saludos BDA. I was a 773 area code. My reception was spotty. The only fight for Canelo is Benavidez, May the 5th, depending on that outcome. Bud in September." Oh, okay. So it says depending on the May 5th outcome, maybe he'll fight Bud in September. Maybe. That sounds like a... But you know what they say about well-laid plans. The other thing I wanted to touch on, by the way, great points about the rules being enforced and how that could make boxing better. One of the things that makes boxing better is when the best fight the best, or in this case, when we get compelling fights. One of the rumors, and it's just a rumor, allegedly, supposedly, whatever you want to say, Teofimo Lopez might be fighting Tank Davis. Maybe.
At what weight?
I don't know.
Once again, BD, no more catch weights. No, that's not honorable.
Yeah, please. But what do you guys think about the
fight?
Rehydration.
This hard one time long ago when Teofimo was 15 and Tank was like, I think he's 3 years older. But right now, man, Tank Davis got power. That's not no big secret. Yes, but let it be fair at 140. That's all I'm saying.
I should be at 140. That's it.
Yes.
He's 140 pounds. Teofimo should not budge. No catch weights. No nothing. No rehydration clause. 140. I'll fuck you up. Come up here. You know it. He should be on that right now. Right now. If somebody could get this to Teofimo, tell him to go on social media and say 140 pounds. No rehydration clause. I'm gonna whip your ass. Tell him to say that, and then just put the ball in Tank's court. That's all you gotta do.
Yeah, 0 chance of that fight happening.
Of course it is.
Agree.
Of course, but
you know what I mean? 0.
You cannot say Teofimo didn't put the challenge out there. If he was to do that,
no, he's not going to fight anybody. In their mind is, why should he? I mean, fucking, you see what Ellaby says when he comes out. Why? Who is that person? He's got a belt. Okay. But what are the numbers he puts in? Why should we help him grow? It's like they really, like he put out a tweet today, Giovanni, called himself the face of boxing again.
No, because you know what they're doing? They're leveraging how healthy Teofimo, how bad Teofimo wants to fight, and how healthy he's willing not to be. That's what it is. Let's be honest. When you ask a guy to drop down in weight, when you ask a guy to compromise his physicality, you're saying, I'm asking you not to be well. That's what I'm asking you. I'm asking you not to be the guy I saw you that scared me at night. I don't want you to be that guy. I want you to be somebody else.
So, Jimmy, you're saying, but now how are they going to work this out? Because they already put this fight in the imagination of boxing fans. Now, if they go, oh shit, we're going to go with Isaac Cruz, that's going to look bad. They're going to try to blame that then on Teofimo Lopez, on his side.
Yes, well, that's what they do before they announce any of his fights. They attach his name. It's not even Davis, because he went on the radio station. Remember they asked him? So come on, man, tell me you don't go. Tell me, sis, you go in that office, you say, give me this dude and give me this dude. No, I never asked for any about any of them. He was like, huh? But yeah, no, he doesn't. So it's his corner. It's either his corner or somebody over at PBC just letting that slip out. Because it generates, gets talking about him, then it'll be Isaac Cruz. There's just not a snowball's chance in hell they're fighting Teofimo Lopez at 140.
It's corny, bro. That's so corny. That's so corny. That's so corny, man. I'm sorry, I can't buy. Nah, you want to fight Teofimo Lopez? Fight him at 140 pounds. That's it. I want to see. Look, I put an asterisk on Tank's win against Garcia. That if you're honest, and it's not about capping for Ryan because I don't really care for him, but it's a bullshit fight, bro. One guy was compromised. That's not a fair fight. And anybody who believes that, they need to fuck off, man. Come on, they're not really. Those are not really true boxing fan. Like I'm a fan of the sport. No, you're not. You can't say you are when one guy's compromised. Fuck off. You're lying.
And there's no chance that Teofimo Lopez is going to act the B-side to Giovanni Davis. Remember, that's going to be a major sticking problem because he's going to, and rightfully so. Wait a minute, I have real belts. These are actual real championship belts. You have kitty belts. You have the junior belts. You know what I mean? And not the A-side. And then when you do numbers, and he would say, well, I'm a real champion, so for that reason.
Teofimo probably won't do this because he'll be advised not to. But if I was him, I'd be like, listen, you have the girly belts. I have the men belts. So, and the fights at 140, I'm the lineal champion. You've never been lineal champion. You've always been the you've been the underneath. You've been the bottom champion. You've always been the bottom champion.
So I got the man belts. I got the man belts. You got the boy belts.
Yeah, you got the boy.
But they're gonna say his bargaining chips are the fact that he's. They're gonna say his bargaining chips is the fact that he's the face of boxing, or the second best to the guy that's the face of boxing. And the thing I heard a weird comment. They put Canelo and Gervonta Davis in the same sentence to say. Somebody mentioned it's funny that the two faces of boxing are bringing fighters up. Well, okay, Charlo went up, but let's not forget that Canelo also went up to 75, and he went up from 54 to 60 and 68, and all the while, Gervonta Davis has never fought a dude that is a tiny smidgen not bigger than him at all. He's always bringing up bantamweights.
Well, the time that he did fight bigger guys,
Tank already fought at 140 pounds.
Okay, Barrios, that's only one.
Yeah, but even then, he enforced the rehydration clause, so that doesn't even count. And by the way,
okay, so Teo doesn't need to. He doesn't need to do that. All Teo needs to say is just 140 pounds, no weight limitations, no nothing. We do it according everything to the rules. Put up or shut up. That's it.
Well, you know what? Recognize that's where it helps to have a nut job like Teofimo Lopez Sr. in your corner, because he will. That's what they do. They cry, they whine about this and that. So they're not gonna go for that rehydration clause. Teofimo Lopez Sr. is the type of guy, he would pull his pants down during a negotiation and take a shit on the table. That's the type of guy you need in this situation, because you have guys like Ryan Garcia and his fucking shyster lawyer, and they go, oh yeah, everything, just take everything. The lawyer tells him don't do it, and Ryan Garcia just he doesn't respect the lawyer. Teofimo Lopez Jr. say what you want about his relationship,
guy, right? And the end of the night, De La Hoya's the bad guy. This and this and that. Yeah.
Right. But say what you want about Teofimo Lopez Sr., Jr. tends to respect him. Like, he'll listen to the guy a little bit. Maybe he wasn't like his attitude, or maybe he does things sometimes he's crazy. But in this scenario, ain't no way they should even consider bowing down to Tank's demands. Just ain't gonna happen. Hey, Tank, you
and that
wanna
would be a good fight. That fight would be good for many reasons. Like the first half of that fight would be very, very fucking interesting. Maybe Tank is going to be like probably the guy I will give him the favor.
Mm-hmm.
But that second half of that fight, if Teofimo's still around, that's when the fucking fight gets interesting. And then he's a bigger guy. Then we find out if Tank is truly a pound for pound fighter.
That's right.
That's how you find out.
That's an explosive matchup. Recognize it.
It is
explosive.
It's dynamite.
And I'm not shitting on Tank like he don't have a shot. I think he has a very good shot. I think it's 50-50. You know, that fight at 140 pounds, no fucking weight, no gaining weight stipulations and shit like that. Just you come in at your best, I come in at my best. I think even then, Tank will have a 50-50 shot of winning that fight. But the fact that he won't do that, that speaks to his confidence. And don't ever compare him to a pound for pound fighter when he's doing that. You can't do just like you're putting rules on what pound for pound is because you like the guy.
Exactly. Well, yeah, that's why some people say, well, pound for pound is subjective. I mean, no, because you can't fucking have Rolly Romero number one pound for pound and say, oh, it's subjective. I mean, it's there is a degree of strength.
I got Rolly.
Yeah, exactly. I know you do, by the way. But you can say that one list is stronger than the other if you can back it up with arguments or with evidence, and you can do that with Tank Davis. And I'll say this though: the problem for Teofimo Lopez if this fight happens, hopefully it happens. I know Jimmy already said he won't, but hopefully it does. But anyway, the point is, if it happens, the problem for Teofimo Lopez would be that we know the game that Gervonta Davis plays now. His game is, I'm going to run around and I'm going to make you make a mistake. I'm going to get you zesty. You make a mistake, and then boom, I capitalize on it. And Teofimo Lopez is not the greatest at hunting guys down, but he is a bigger guy. If he's not dehydrated, he's a fucking unit in there. He's just as fast, if not faster than Teofimo Lopez, than Davis. He's equal. He hits harder, I think. He's got experience now at this point. He's lost.
Well,
now
he's
that
stronger.
Right, but losing that O might be the best thing that happened to Teofimo Lopez, because now he doesn't have to get neurotic about it like other fighters do. I gotta protect my O, like it's my asshole. Fuck it, he's going like, yeah, I'll spread those cheeks wide, let you get a shot at it, and see if you can get it. That's what he's saying. And so I think
BDA. No, that's what you saying. You said that right now. You said that. I didn't hear him say that. I already said that.
But BDA is Teofimo undisputed right now at 140?
Well, okay,
he's the lineal.
Yeah, you're
no, but he's the lineal.
Okay. Let me explain this to the book out there, and that's the big debate out there in the boxing community, Pete, is that for a lot of people now, undisputed means needing to have all 4 belts. That's why they call it undisputed in the 4-belt era. But my thing is, for undisputed for me has always been, is there a dispute that this guy is a champ? And of course there isn't. You can't say fucking Rolly Romero is a champ or that Teofimo Lopez has to fight him to be undisputed. So for all intents and purposes, he is undisputed, but in the modern vernacular, you need all 4 belts. And maybe in 10 years, you're going to need the IBO belt to become undisputed.
Okay, so Teo's got 3 and Rolly's got 1? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
No, he doesn't. I think he only has 1.
Think Teo has 1. Teo just has 1.
Oh. Yeah. Well, I mean, if it's for a 140-pound belt, there ain't going to be no catch. Tank ain't fighting no real 140 pound. Fuck that. Because if it's for a 140-pound belt, which I mean, why else would you fight Teo unless it was for that belt? Then you have to fight at 140. You can't fight at no 136.
Go look up De La Hoya Chavez 1. Go look up that fight and ask me if Tanky or anybody for that matter, has a chance with Oscar De La Hoya.
You're on this De La Hoya kick now because you've seen some old fights.
Motherfuckers will go to sleep. Every one of them will go night-night.
Well, I wanted to touch on that too. When De La Hoya was training with, and it's interesting because I did research on, I did so much research I already forgot his name, Rivera something, the guy that De La Hoya was using as a trainer, the guy that was training De La Hoya at the time. He was a guy that used to work with Miguel Canto, who's forget about one of the best Mexicans.
Cholain Rivera.
Is that his name? Okay, maybe yeah. But
I think that's his nickname. That might be his name because he's a Oaxaqueño. So Cholain or Yucateco.
Timothy Figueroa is saying Jesus Rivero. Yeah, that's the dude. I know there was a river there somewhere. But yeah, that dude had De La Hoya moving his head side to side, moving the waist, changing levels. Even De La Hoya later on said, and I was surprised to hear him say, he said, yeah, I think that's when I was at my best. But he was a fucking trainer whore back then. He was a slut back then. He would go from Emmanuel Stewart to Rivero to this guy to that guy, Gil Clancy. But this dude had him
fighting. I'm so happy I watched that fight. I was so happy because I was like, God damn, like I almost felt like I was watching the best fighter I've ever seen.
But
not quite,
which fight? Which fight?
De La Hoya, Chavez won, man.
Oh, okay.
That's when he said that he was perfect. Recognize, he even said, De La Hoya said that on that night, I don't lose to nobody. But look at the shit De La Hoya saying now. It's kind of like, is he really being like authentic all the time? But that's what he said.
I didn't even know he said that. In my opinion, look, I'm not saying my opinion is God. I agree. Let's just put it that way. I don't think nobody from 140 to at least 147, man. There's nobody that he fucks up everybody, especially today. He beats up everybody easy, like 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, that's what Recognize. He said that on that night he would not even lose to like Mike Tyson. That's what he said.
Okay, well, yeah, but I get what.
Well, maybe he's overexaggerating. Put it this way: you know how people looked at Jimmy. You know how you looked at that performance against Fulton. That's how I almost looked at that. Like just on that level. Like it's just.
Yeah, it was definitely a great performance.
The only thing that he didn't do was drop Chavez, but he did everything else. Everything else. You know, his footwork, his in and out ability, the fluid.
Yeah, he was definitely tied in and shit. But if he would have started with that, I wouldn't even have lost to Mike Tyson. I would have said, hey, that might work with the 14-year-old ladies guy, but fuck out of here, man.
Obviously, he was being facetious. But
I think he was being, but I get what he's saying. I get what he means.
Yeah.
Dude, he
but
was
I'll say this,
the
man.
perfect boxer in there. He was like exactly what you would want to be as a boxer.
Well, I'll say this, man. In terms of punching power, Inu is a better puncher because he can crack with the right and the left.
Yes, he is.
Whereas De La Hoya, it was mostly the left hook and the right was just there to set you up for the left hook. But I understand what you're saying because not only was he a long fighter for 140 pounds, similar to Josh Taylor, but he had a better jab, a shotgun jab that would snap heads back, and then on top of that, the combination punches. So he had speed, power, length, pedigree because he was an Olympic gold medalist. I mean, yeah, he was a problem for anybody. He would have been a problem. And also, watch the Miguel Angel Gonzalez fight. I think that's where he was the first fight with Rivero. He was and then when he fought Whitaker, I think he still had Rivero, and he was making Whitaker miss in there with some shots, with a lot of shots rather. Anybody that tells you that
problem
fight,
for every father in Southern California too.
Oh, come on, Jimmy, what's going on here? But
well, come on, the dude targeted the youngins, man.
Oh, yeah. Well, how young though?
I just call
her. How young, Jimmy?
What's that?
How young?
Oh, it was legendary. He got one girl who was 16 from Mexico pregnant. Oh. There was another time he got a supposed 15-year-old pregnant down in Mexico.
Never Sobers ain't gonna like that one, man.
I'm just saying it's different right down there, isn't it? Consent, it's younger, right? It's 16. It's not 18, which what it should be. I mean, personally, but
called De La Hoya in Southern Cal, the D Slayer.
You like them young.
Did you see the Showtime documentary about him? The 2-part documentary about him? It wasn't so flattering.
No, I didn't end up. Did they mention his proclivity for fucking taking on the youngins?
I don't think they even covered that. They just said, "Stay away from my daughter and stay out of my kitchen."
Well, Pete, you know what? For Pete, it wouldn't even be whether his daughter was 16 or 32. He would say, "Ain't no Mexican going out with my daughter." So at least he would be consistent with that. But real quick,
no way, Jose.
I'm with you on that one. No Mexicans.
No, come on, man. But shout out to Mars for his contribution to the super chat. He says Cruz rematch for Tank Davis. Then He's saying Cruz rematch, Chris Colbert or Frank Martin are the realistic opponents. They ain't gonna do business with Top Rank after years of docking Loma. I mean, I think that's what Jimmy's point is too. By the way, that
right.
That's why he doesn't see that fight happening. Especially Bob Arum is very reticent of doing business with Al Heyman unless they just let the fighter go the way they did with Stephen Fulton. So, yeah, that one's a tricky one.
Pitbull Cruz was looking at a shit like he has been eating a lot of tortillas.
I mean, did you see that when they showed the camera they put the camera in front of Isa Cruz during the fight, and he was there staring, and Bucha told me he looks like he was on drugs or something. I don't know, maybe that scene. I mean,
they're prepping him up. They're getting him right for the fight, man.
Yeah, they're tenderizing him for Gervonta Davis. Yeah. But yeah, man, listen, we've been on for about
how old is Lomachenko now? How old is he? 35, 36, somewhere around there?
Probably going on 36, yeah.
Hey, Mayweather, you said 5 years ago, Lomachenko's about to be 40. It's 5 years later, the motherfucker's still like 5 years away from 40. I could never get over that shit. This motherfucker actually said, Loma's going to be 40 soon. And Loma was like 31 when he said that.
I think you should say it too. You forgot to say, he probably said, we're just blessed. That was the Mayweather go-to line where he just go, we're just blessed.
No, I was just trying to do the stuff. You know how it takes
the stuttering too, yeah. Or when he claps when he's talking. I want to fight De La Hoya. It's like, all right, why are you clapping? You're not at the opera, man. Or you're not at
I want to buy this company. I want to buy Cloto Reyes.
Oh, remember that, man?
It's a sign, fucking shoe size IQ when I see somebody clap, especially women when they're angry. They clap to every syllable.
Oh,
I've never seen him clap when he talks.
That's why I don't knock on Lomachenko for not wanting to fight Stevenson, because everybody else is doing it too. And when they confuse that it's because everybody ducking Stevenson, it's not like he's a power puncher. Yes, it's complicated because he hits you when you freeze, and he's a left-hander, so he got some speed and timing behind his shots. But there's a pattern. Now, one guy went looking for him. Also, it was Frank Martin that didn't want to fight him because you're going to be down on the scorecards because they're pushing this guy as the next Floyd Mayweather. But there was one guy that did want to fight him. Now, credit to Stevenson for taking the fight, but he went looking for him in his backyard, La Granada Santos. That's going to be a good fight. If he beats that guy, I could say, okay, I give him more credit than.
But it's how Shakur beats these guys. Look, when he fought what's the Brazilian? Conceição,
yeah.
Conceição. When he beat Conceição, dude, what you laughing at
the accent you do? You start doing an accent also, like Conceição.
Right, Conceição.
VDA is laughing the way I pronounce.
You're doing it on purpose, man. Come on, you're doing it on purpose, man.
Now I feel fucking insecure. All right, but that guy, right? When he beat him, he just hit him with low blows. He looked like shit, bro. How can you... Dude, if you're a boxing fan, let's keep it real, man. That was a dirty fight. It was dirty.
Of course.
That's it.
Don't tell
just
that
say,
to
look, it was a dirty fight.
Yeah, don't tell that to his fans, because even with the video we did where we showed that up-tint low blows he showed.
He's Puerto Rican, you know?
There you go,
that's my Puerto Rican brother.
He's Boricua,
that's my Boricua brother.
And by the way, I was laughing at the way you were pronouncing Conceição's name, because you say, instead of saying Conceição, you go Conceição. Okay, come on. You don't lay on the accent fake, man. Come on.
Yeah. It's the Portuguese, the Portuguese enunciation.
Yeah. And by the way, Harp Janda in the chat says, recognize would beat anyone in an elevator. Yeah, that's his home, man. That's
Oh
his
hell yeah!
battleground.
No, that's 100%. I'll beat
That's his
anybody in an
battleground.
elevator fight. I got
Remember,
that.
I told you guys there was a somebody made a DVD. I don't know if I can still find it, but it was called 39 Blocks or something like that. And it's this supposedly this prison style of fighting because you're in close quarters,
I know that.
so it emphasizes it emphasizes close quarter combat. So say, hey, maybe that's what the same Recognize can create some sort of elevator style.
It does. Unless you fight a guy that's much stronger than you, then all that shit goes up. If you're in prison,
there's a thing in Spanish. It goes, everything falls by its own weight. Todo cae por su propio peso.
I'm sorry. No.
No, sorry. But an elevator goes up and down. So what goes up must come down, but an elevator goes back again. That's where I Recognize got you. He's a master of the two distances, and it's a vertical distance.
I put my money on that old lady in that movie, Devil, in the elevator. I don't know if you guys saw that movie.
Yeah, I remember I saw that movie a little bit. Well, I haven't ever. Yeah, but it's Shyamalan, right? He wrote it, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Elevator fight, I'd have beat Mike Tyson up, and I'm gonna tell you why. Before you judge me, I'm gonna tell you why I would have beat up Mike Tyson in an elevator fight. I would have psyched him out. I'd have been like, "Oh shit, this elevator's gonna get stuck." He would have been scared, and right there, I'd have fucked his ass up. Right? You know when he goes, "Oh," you freeze up a little bit. I just would have went in on him. I would have picked him up by his legs, slammed him, and then just keep going in on him.
The best elevator fight I've ever seen is when Archie Bunker got caught in the elevator with a Puerto Rican guy and a black guy. He had to leave the dinner table and go upstairs and go pay a bill. And the elevator stopped, and they were stuck in there. The Puerto Rican guy started fucking around with the panel, and he started trying to open up the panels on the roof. And Archie was like, "Get down there now! Get down there! Don't go messing around with that. You don't know what you're doing." And he gets down. He's like, "Hey, don't you yell at me! Don't you give me orders, okay? I'm a citizen. I am equal to you." And he goes, "Equal to me? You ain't even equal to him." And he pointed to the black guy.
Oh, jeez, Luis. We don't condone that type of humor.
They had to get along
here.
though. They wound up sorting it out.
Yeah, we don't condone that type of humor here on the BD Boxing Arena. This is
no.
This is all about inclusivity. Some people have even called us the United Nations of boxing. So very proud of that. Diversity is our greatest strength. I can't say it enough. All right, fellas. Let's get serious. Let's get serious for a moment. We got to go. We've been on for about 4 hours, so we do have to go. But shout out to everybody that donated the super chat, everybody that called in, everybody that was in the chat, of course, everybody listening. Hey, come on now. You guys are the best. All the panelists as well. I'm talking about Jimmy, Gonzalo, Uncle Pete, Recognize. Shout out to you fellas. Always appreciate you being here. And I want to give a big old shout out to everybody in the chat. I'm talking about Joe, Windy City, Antonio Hernandez.
In the words of Uncle Pete, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Timothy Figueroa, Raphael 32, The Gucci Berserk, Eric G from H-Town, Mars, Knockout Ned, I Am Your Leader in the house. Shout out to I Am Your Leader. I heard some of his work over at Match Chats yesterday. Shout out to him. Shout out to Bentley Sports. Who else? Mars, Second Guess Always, Harp. Who else were here? The Quags. I'll read what you wrote later, Quags, because we got to go. Gumby, One Hitter, Skull Kid, The Quags, like I said, La Fadiganza. And if I forgot anybody, it's because we got to go. But shout out to you fellas. Thank you for joining us. Catch you on the next one. Take it easy.